Chapter 1045. Cake with love to outsiders. She looked like Tang Yun's best friend, and no one would suspect that she had anything to do with Lin Yi. It wasn't until they reached the school building and Tang Yun entered Class 9's classroom that Xiao Xiao acted a little closer to Lin Yi. They were about to reach class anyway, and there weren't many people in the hallway. Xiao Xiao didn't hold back anymore and put her hand in front of Lin Yi. Lin Yi blinked. What are you doing? Holding hands? I didn't fight for anything when my wife was here, but now that she's gone, can't I get better treatment? Xiao Xiao said urgently. Quick, it's my turn. Ha. Lin Yi smiled and held Xiao Xiao's hand. It only took a few steps for them to reach Class 5, and Lin Yi let go of her. It was just a short distance, but Xiao Xiao was happy enough. She hummed a little tune as she followed Lin Yi into class, waiting for Lin Yi to sit down before quietly sitting beside Lin Yi like a little wife. Seeing how easily Xiao Xiao was satisfied made Lin Yi feel pity for this girl, but there was nothing Lin Yi could do. His medical skills weren't good enough and he couldn't let Xiao Xiao live. Lin Yi, honey, I brought you good food. Xiao Xiao sat down and opened her bag excitedly, talking to herself. Lin Yi really liked Xiao Xiao from the bottom of his heart now. This was why Lin Yi didn't get angry when she lied to him about running out of gas. If it were before, Lin Yi wouldn't have spoiled Xiao Xiao like this. I made a cake with love myself. Xiao Xiao was a little smug as she rummaged through her bag and pulled out a food preservation bag. Here it is, dang 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 dang. Love cakes. Xiao Xiao was excitedly trying to show Lin Yi the cake she made, but when she took it out, she realized that the cake in the bag was squashed. The heart-shaped pastry was originally decorated with cherries and strawberries, but now it was crushed beyond recognition. Xiao Xiao was going crazy. I woke up at 3 in the morning, how did this happen? How unlucky. Xiao Xiao slapped her forehead, a little dejected. She was a little sleepy after baking the cake in the morning, so she put the cake in her bag and fell asleep. She didn't even know what was going on when she fell asleep, using her bag as a pillow. The pastries were still in her school bag. Now that she had pressed on them, the result was obvious. But Xiao Xiao forgot about it after she woke up. She called Tang Yun, dressed up, and left with her bag. She forgot about using her bag as a pillow. She didn't even think that the cake she made was crushed. Lin Yi looked at Xiao Xiao in front of him. He was really happy, really touched. Xiao Xiao had written clearly on her phone that she wanted him to fall in love with her and then die in front of him to get her revenge. But Lin Yi didn't believe her anymore. If it was just a lie, why would she wake up in the middle of the night to make a cake with love? Whatever, throw it away. I'll make it again tomorrow and use a food preservation bag this time. I learned from my mistakes. Xiao Xiao said, a little depressed. I'm too stupid putting it in my bag and using it as a pillow to sleep. Sigh. Haha. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh at Xiao Xiao's words. Why are you laughing? Xiao Xiao pouted. Why would I throw it away? It's just a little out of shape, nothing bad. Lin Yi took the food preservation bag from Xiao Xiao's hands and opened it, stuffing the cake into his mouth. I haven't eaten anything this morning, so I'm pretty hungry. It's not bad. Lin Yi finished the cake in 2 or 3 bites, not minding the shape and beauty of the cake at all. Xiao Xiao didn't expect Lin Yi to eat it just like that. She paused. No more? Lin Yi asked after eating. No more. I'll make more tomorrow. Xiao Xiao was happy again, her eyes looking at Lin Yi a little more tenderness. Lin Yi was touched, but so was Xiao Xiao. She didn't even know how to eat the cake after it was squashed like that, but Lin Yi ate it without a care, even asking if she had any more. This made Xiao Xiao feel that Lin Yi was really, really nice to her. No one had ever treated her this well since she was young, and she'd never been in a relationship before. Falling in love all of a sudden made her feel that everything was so perfect. If it was possible, she really didn't want to die. She was a little scared. The more she developed with Lin Yi, the heavier her heart became. If this continued, the final parting would be very painful. She didn't want herself to be in pain, and she didn't want Lin Yi to be in pain. The reason why she didn't make friends or date before was because she didn't want to be sad on the final day, but now everything had changed. She had friends before she knew it. Tang Yun and Yushu were her good friends. She had a lover too. Xiao Xiao could feel that she and Lin Yi were heading towards danger, and the two were getting more and more immersed. What should I do? Xiao Xiao felt a headache coming on. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't think much of it. He finished the cake and drank 2 mouthfuls of water before tossing the bag into a nearby trash can. You don't have to wake up so early to do this, it's troublesome. Lin Yi was worried about Xiao Xiao's health. She didn't have many days left to live, and waking up in the middle of the night to make cakes. Wasn't she just waiting for her condition to worsen? It's not troublesome, I'm very happy. Xiao Xiao shook her head. I'll prepare it tonight and I'll bake it tomorrow morning. I didn't prepare it this morning, so it's a little troublesome. Lin Yi didn't say anything else after seeing Xiao Xiao's insistence. She was happy that Xiao Xiao was doing this and Lin Yi was happy to make her happy. Friday night race. Have you contacted them? Lin Yi changed the topic. Yeah, I've contacted them. Xiao Xiao's face brightened up at the mention of racing. I contacted some of the racers I used to play with and they signed up. But please don't lose, I can't afford 200,000. Aha, you don't believe in my skills? Lin Yi didn't care at all for these civilian races. Chapter 1046. Qintian's invitation. As long as you have faith in me, Lin Yi teased Xiao Xiao. Oh, of course I have faith in you, but the car won't do. Xiao Xiao said. Mountain roads. Their modified cars won't be able to do much. Lin Yi shrugged. That's true. Who would dare to speed up on that kind of road? Xiao Xiao thought about it and calmed down. Qintian went to Wangba early in the morning to get his car. His company was quite grand, taking up 2 floors by the roadside. The signboard was very bright too. Qintian was very happy. He patted Wangba on the shoulder. Not bad, Qintian Trading Company Limited. Good job, give me your name card. Here it is. Wang Dao didn't expect that Qintian didn't care about the company's profits at all. He was only concerned about the company's appearance. He calmed down and handed a box of gold-plated name cards to Qintian. Bro Qintian, are you satisfied with this? Yes, you did well. Qintian took the card and looked at it before putting it in his pocket. He got in the car and drove to Sun Jingyi's place. He parked the car below Sun Jingyi's place and called Sun Jingyi. He wanted to give Sun Jingyi a surprise. This car was a gift for Sun Jingyi. He remembered that Sun Jingyi said that she liked Audi cars, but she didn't like them that were too eye-catching. So she bought an Audi A4L. In Songshan, where the rich gathered, an Audi A4L was a very ordinary car. After about half an hour, Sun Jingyi finally arrived. But today Sun Jingyi didn't look as serious as before. Her makeup was more playful and cute. Qintian was taken aback. He knew that Sun Jingyi's mature look was fake, but he didn't expect Sun Jingyi to look so cute. He hadn't seen Sun Jingyi in this style for many years. Qintian thought that Sun Jingyi dressed up especially for him. He was overjoyed and quickly walked over. Jingyi, you look so pretty today. Oh. Sun Jingyi of course didn't dress up for Qintian. Only she knew why she dressed up like this. Women dressed up for those they liked, but who was Sun Jingyi dressed up for? Qintian was used to Sun Jingyi's cold attitude. He didn't mind and walked to his car. He opened the door for Sun Jingyi. Jingyi, please? ? Sun Jingyi looked at the Audi TT in front. This is your car? Yeah, I started a company and made money, so I bought a car. Qintian was very proud of himself when he said that, showing off his coolness to the fullest. Although he hadn't gone out for a while, he had read some novels about coolness like So Pure So Flirtatious prequel. The main character, Lu Lei, was very coolness, and Qintian had always wanted to imitate him. However, he neglected one thing: coolness required strength, and without strength he'd be an idiot. Oh, I'll drive my own car. Sun Jingyi rejected Qintian's invitation and walked to her car. Qintian's face froze. He remembered that Sun Jingyi wouldn't sit in his car with him. If he gave the car to Sun Jingyi later, it would be Sun Jingyi's. She'd want it then, right? Qintian wanted to give the car to Jingyi right now, but then he thought about giving it to Jingyi at the dinner table. With Xiao Xiao helping him act cool and complimenting him a bit, wouldn't he be able to gain a lot of face? With that thought, Qintian decided to hold it in a little longer. He'd give the car to her during dinner. If Qintian didn't say that he'd treat Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi wouldn't have agreed to eat with him. She'd use work as an excuse to cancel the meeting. But when Qintian said that he'd treat Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi hesitated. She hadn't seen Lin Yi for a long time, and Sun Jingyi really wanted to see Lin Yi. No matter what, she was half his lover and Sun Jingyi had a good impression of Lin Yi. She would be happy if the two met occasionally. The 2 cars headed towards Songshan's first high school one after the other. Sun Jingyi led the way and Qintian followed behind. Sun Jingyi parked the car at the food street behind Songshan's first school. This was where Sun Jingyi picked up Lin Yi last time. She didn't know that Lin Yi was a student of Songshan's first school, but she thought that Lin Yi lived nearby. Sun Jingyi's car stopped next to the Beetle, and Qintian's Audi TT stopped next to Sun Jingyi's Audi A4L. The 2 got out of the car and Qintian walked over. I'll call Lin Yi now? Where is this? Should we wait for him here? Oh. Sun Jingyi frowned and walked towards the street not far away. She didn't want to stand so close to Qintian, it made her uncomfortable. As for why they parked the car here, it was because they picked up Lin Yi last time, and the most important reason was that Sun Jingyi didn't want to wait with Qin Tian in front of her house. Sun Jingyi didn't want others to see her with Qin Tian, and Sun Jingyi felt that it would be embarrassing if people she knew saw her. As for coming here, it was just something Sun Jingyi did. But Qin Tian didn't seem to notice Sun Jingyi's disgust. Sun Jingyi left and he followed beside Sun Jingyi, calling Lin Yi as he walked. Not long after Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao entered the classroom, the phone in his pocket vibrated. Lin Yi took it out and looked at the caller ID. He didn't know it, but Lin Yi still picked it up. "Hello, who are you looking for?" "Lin Yi?" Qin Tian asked. "I am, and you are?" Lin Yi didn't recognize Qin Tian's voice. He didn't care about people like Qin Tian, and naturally he wouldn't remember his phone number or voice. "I'm Qin Tian, I'm back in Songshan now with Jingyi. I want to treat you and your girlfriend to a feast, do you have time?" Qin Tian asked. "With Sun Jingyi? Girlfriend?" Lin Yi blinked but understood immediately. The girlfriend Qin Tian was talking about must be Xiao Xiao. Lin Yi wanted to reject him directly, but thinking about Xiao Xiao's personality, he decided that she might like to go to parties. "Wait, I'll ask Xiao Xiao." Chapter 1047. The car was smashed. Xiao Xiao, Wu Qin Tian called saying he wants to treat us to a big meal. "Do you want to go?" Lin Yi turned to Xiao Xiao. "Wu Qin Tian?" Xiao Xiao blinked before remembering who Qin Tian was. "That Iron Fist Wu? He wants to treat us to a big meal? Let's go, I love big meals." When? Lin Yi asked Qin Tian. "Right now, Jingyi and I are at the food street behind Songshan's first school. I heard you live nearby?" Qin Tian said. "Now do you want to go?" Lin Yi didn't answer Qin Tian's question but asked Xiao Xiao instead. Of course. Xiao Xiao didn't have any interest in studying at all. She was about to die, why would she study? She didn't even have time to study for college. And so Xiao Xiao happily agreed. "Then wait for me, we'll go now," Lin Yi said to Qin Tian and hung up. Lin Yi didn't have a good impression of Qin Tian, but he didn't have a bad impression either. He was just one of Sun Jingyi's pursuers. If there was a conflict, it was just that he stole Lin Yi's wallet, but Lin Yi stole his wallet as well. In comparison, Qin Tian's loss was bigger. Especially when they were in Yanjing, Qin Tian had been screwed over by Feng Xiao Xiao to the point where he lost a lot. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was a bit troubled. Did this Qin Tian have a screw loose in his head? Didn't he learn from last time's lesson? He wanted to treat Xiao Xiao to a meal now that he was back in Songshan? But thinking about how Sun Jingyi was with Qin Tian, Lin Yi felt that he probably wanted to let Sun Jingyi see his relationship with Xiao Xiao, to let Sun Jingyi know that he was a two-timer. But Lin Yi didn't care at all. He knew what his relationship with Sun Jingyi was. Lin Yi was just Sun Jingyi pretending to be her lover in name only. There was no real relationship at all. And so, bringing Xiao Xiao with him didn't bother Lin Yi. As long as Xiao Xiao could eat happily, Lin Yi would be satisfied. Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao cleaned up, and Lin Yi sent a message to the Miss and Tang Yun, saying that he was bringing Xiao Xiao to eat with a friend. The Miss and Tang Yun both knew about Xiao Xiao, so they didn't say anything about Lin Yi bringing Xiao Xiao out alone. They only told Lin Yi to be careful and take care of Xiao Xiao. Yufeng was a practitioner after all. His butt was pricked, but he could still walk after being bandaged. He was from House Yu, and naturally he had Dr. Kong and Miracle Dr. Guan's Jinchuang and Jinchuang medicine. He didn't hesitate to apply it on himself, Songming and Penghu. But Penghu's egg was cut off, and this medicine couldn't fix it. He could only be an Eggman in the future. In the morning, the three of them came out of the hospital. With the Jinchuang ointment, they didn't have to worry about the slow recovery of the wound. However, although the Jinchuang ointment was good, it couldn't be applied to the wound and make it better immediately. The bleeding stopped and the wound healed, but it still took a while for the wound to be as good as before. Yufeng was worried about the new car he bought yesterday. It was a Lamborghini and it didn't even have a license plate. It was parked behind the school's food street. What if the street vendors scratched it? So after leaving the hospital, the three of them stopped a taxi and went to the food street behind the school. However, what caught his eye was not his Lamborghini, but an Audi TT, which was parked in the spot where he had parked before. "Where's my car?" Yufeng blinked. "Master Xia, the car is over there." Song Ming pointed weakly at the corner. What? Yufeng looked at his car and was dumbfounded. His car was parked at the foot of the wall and the body was full of holes. It was dented and smashed and the paint was peeling off. It didn't look like a new car at all. It looked like a scrapped car. "My Lamborghini." Xie Yufeng quickly ran over and saw his beloved car in such a state. His heart ached. He was rich, but the money he brought was limited. He wanted to hit on girls, so he got a flashy car. He didn't expect it to be smashed like this in just one day. Who did it? Oh, who smashed my car? Young Master Xia, it should be done by the person in the Audi TT. Wang Tsongming pondered for a moment and analyzed. There are only 3 reasonable parking spaces here. The parking spaces are full, and there is no other place to park except under the wall. There is a food street here at night, so it can't be seen if it was parked elsewhere. So, from the current situation, it must be that the Audi TT felt that our car came later and occupied its parking space, so it pushed our car under the wall and smashed it like this. Isn't that Audi TT Xiao Xiao's car? Did she do it? Does she have that much strength? Yu Feng thought that Songming's analysis made sense, but he found it strange that Xiao Xiao had that much strength. I think it's Xiao Xiao who told Lin Yi to do it. Lin Yi's a practitioner, pushing a car to a corner shouldn't be hard at all. Songming said. Fuck. I haven't even taught him a lesson yet and he's trying to bully me. Xiao Xiao, I'll push you onto the bed one day and fuck you to death. Yu Feng gritted his teeth. Smash it, smash both Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao's cars. That beetle is Lin Yi's. Wait. Songming waved his hand, stopping the furious Yu Feng. Master Xia, please calm down. Oh? What? He's trying to bully me and I can't fight back. Yu Feng humphed. No, Master Xia, I think it's best not to smash Lin Yi's car. Songming waved his hand. Master Xia, Lin Yi's a practitioner, you think he'll just let you go after smashing his car? He's a practitioner and so am I. He's just a mystic early phase and I'm a mystic early phase peak. What's there to be afraid of? Yu Feng smiled coldly. Master Xia, but you have to hide your strength. You can't expose it, you have to investigate in secret. Songming said. Chapter 1048. Chapter 1046, perfect timing, but he didn't want to just let this go. Wasn't this too much of a waste? After some thought, Yu Feng said, then let's smash Xiao Xiao's car. That Yushu girl messed with us yesterday, Xiao Xiao must have had a part in it. She must have been the one who came up with the idea to smash the car. Let's do it as a warning to Lin Yi that we're not pushovers, and we can't touch Lin Yi's bottom line, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Alright. Let's do it as a warning to Lin Yi. Songming nodded in agreement. Then let's just smash Xiao Xiao's car. Lin Yi doesn't have any proof anyway, and if we don't admit it, what can he do to us? It's not Lin Yi's car, it's just a girl's car. Lin Yi won't lose any face. Then what are we waiting for? Let's do it. Yu Feng had been itching to give it a try. He picked up a brick from the ground and walked over to Xiao Xiao's Audi TT, slamming it down on the windshield without saying a word. The windshield was smashed by Xie Yu Feng's brick. Songming and Peng Hu, on the other hand, found their tools and started smashing the car with Yu Feng. The Audi TT's alarm went off, deafening, but Yu Feng didn't mind at all. The louder the alarm, the better he felt, as if he had vented all his frustrations. Bitch, let's see how you act, let's see how you smash my car. I'll smash yours too. I'll smash you to death. Yu Feng cursed as he smashed the car. One day I'll fuck you to death. You little bitch. Because the 3 of them were working together, the Audi TT was smashed beyond recognition in an instant. Qintian and Jingyi were waiting for Lin Yi at the crossroads when they heard the car alarm. Qintian paused but turned his head the next moment, his face extremely ugly. There were actually 3 hooligans smashing his new Audi TT. Qintian was enraged. How dare you smash my car? Do you want to die? This was a gift for Sun Jingyi. Qintian immediately went berserk, rushing over to Yu Feng, Songming and Peng Hu. He swung his arm and slapped them across the face, sending Yu Feng tumbling to the ground. Yu Feng didn't put up any defenses at all, and Qintian was a physical practitioner, so Yu Feng fell into his trap with a moment of carelessness. My car. My beloved car. Qintian touched the battered Audi TT, almost crying. This is my present for Jingyi. You bastards. How dare you smash my car? I'll kill you. Qintian attacked again, sending Peng Hu flying with a punch. Songming wasn't spared either. Neither of them were practitioners, so they weren't even worth mentioning in front of Qintian. They landed on the ground, their butts split open once more. Yu Feng was confused by Qintian's sudden appearance. But after hearing his words he was puzzled. This was his car? Wasn't this Xiao Xiao's car? What was going on? Could it be that he hit the wrong car? But Yu Feng was the young master of House Yu, so what if he hit the wrong car? How dare he hit the young master of House Yu? Did he not want to live anymore? These few days Yu Feng had suffered a lot from Lin Yi, Yushu and Xiao Xiao. How could he take it lying down in front of a random person? He jumped up from the ground and looked at Qintian coldly, pointing at his Lamborghini. You're the one who smashed my car? Your car? That broken car is yours? Yufeng looked in the direction Yufeng was pointing at and frowned. Why would I smash your car? Even if you didn't smash my car, I did smash yours. What are you going to do about it? Yufeng's face turned dark. You're just a physical practitioner at the early phase of golden class, and you dare act cool in front of me? You really don't know what's good for you. Qintian had shown his strength just now, and Yufeng naturally knew who he was. But he didn't know who he was, nor did he know who Sun Jingyi was. He was the trump card of House Yu, and he had never shown his face in public. He didn't interact with other noble houses either. This was why he was able to hide his identity and come to Songshan. Wouldn't he be exposed if someone he knew saw him? What the hell? You smashed my car and you dare talk to me like that? Don't you know who I am? Qintian didn't think that Yufeng wouldn't kneel down and beg for forgiveness after being caught red-handed. Instead, he was acting like a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water. Qintian was infuriated. He wanted to use these three to build up his heroic image in front of Sun Jingyi. I don't need to know who you are. What I do know is that you're dead. Yufeng circulated his qi secretly. He couldn't hold it in anymore these few days. In front of Lin Yi, all he could do was hold it in. But in front of these outsiders, he didn't need to hold it in anymore. Since this guy in front of him didn't care, he'd use him to calm his anger. Yufeng smiled coldly. Just a physical practitioner at the early phase of golden class. I'll let you know the power of a spiritual practitioner at the peak of the early phase of mystic class. A spiritual practitioner at the peak of the early phase of mystic class. Qintian paused and looked at Yufeng's strong aura. He was a physical practitioner, but he could feel the qi of a spiritual practitioner. The difference between the two was huge, but Qintian could tell that Yufeng wasn't weak at all. In fact, he was stronger than him. Just when the tension was high, Lin Yi came with Xiao Xiao. He froze when he saw Yufeng and Qintian fighting. But when he saw the Audi TT beside Qintian, Lin Yi understood everything. Did Xie Yufeng smash the wrong car? Did he smash Qintian's car? But Qintian wasn't a match for Yufeng, so Lin Yi had to help him. After all, Lin Yi hated Yufeng more. This Wu Qintian, on the other hand, was a little stupid and arrogant. Lin Yi didn't have any special feelings for him. Wu Qintian, Xie Yufeng, you guys know each other? Lin Yi pretended not to see the conflict between the two and asked curiously. Fuck. Yufeng was going crazy. Yes, he really was going crazy. Why was Lin Yi like a ghost? Why did he appear everywhere? He was just about to use his qi to teach Qintian a lesson, and now Lin Yi was here. Yufeng quickly retracted his qi in fright. He couldn't let Lin Yi discover his true strength. Chapter 1049. He had to endure. One had to admit that Lin Yi was quite a bad guy when he started playing dirty, even worse than Xiao Xiao and Yushu. Lin Yi had been an assassin before, and assassins were people who would do anything to kill. Other than assassination, getting someone else to do the dirty work was also the highest level of an assassin. If he could get someone else to do the dirty work, then why not? Lin Yi had a pretty good grasp of the situation now. Yufeng's Lamborghini was smashed, and Qintian's Audi was parked right where the Lamborghini was yesterday. Naturally, Yufeng thought that it was the owner of the Audi who smashed it. And the owner of this Audi, from Yufeng's point of view, was Xiao Xiao. In the entire school, only Xiao Xiao had an Audi TT, and so Yufeng was certain that he and Xiao Xiao were the ones who smashed his car. Yufeng was probably afraid of exposing his strength in front of him, so he didn't dare smash his car, afraid that he would cause trouble for him. He could only use Xiao Xiao's car to vent his anger. But little did he know that Xiao Xiao didn't drive here at all, coming in Lin Yi's car. The Audi parked here was Qintian's. How strong was Qintian? How strong was Xie Yufeng? Lin Yi knew very well, if these two were to really fight, Qintian would be the one at a disadvantage. But Lin Yi couldn't let Qintian lose now. In comparison, Lin Yi hated Yufeng more, and Qintian still had to treat him and Xiao Xiao to a feast. What was the point of eating if he got hurt? And so Lin Yi spoke up and Yufeng dispersed his qi. His expression was one of pain and helplessness. Wah, Iron Fist bro, are you going to show off your Iron Fist? Hurry up and use your Iron Fist to cripple this guy. It's time to show off your heroic spirit. Xiao Xiao saw that Qintian and Yufeng were fighting, cheering. She didn't want Iron Fist to lose either. After all, he still had to treat her to a feast. How could she eat if he got beaten to death? Really? Qintian was overjoyed when he heard Xiao Xiao's words. He thought to himself, this girl sure knows what I'm doing. She's working with me to act cool the moment she arrived. Treating her to a few more meals wouldn't be a loss. With her around, wouldn't my heroic image be established? Sun Jingyi will also like me. Yeah. If you look at TV dramas, you are usually the male lead. Now is the time for the male lead to show his power. Hurry up and kill him. Xiao Xiao continued to bluff. This Xie Yufeng was really annoying and Xiao Xiao was pissed off at him. She didn't have much time left and Xiao Xiao wanted to enjoy her friendship and love in this limited time, but this Yufeng just had to come and mess with her, annoying her. This guy was wasting her life. Xiao Xiao didn't have time to deal with him. And so, from Xiao Xiao's point of view, if Iron Fist Wu could cripple this Xie Yufeng and make him stay in the hospital for a year and a half, that'd be awesome. She'd be dead by the time he came out, and he wouldn't even be able to find her for revenge. He'd probably be in the hospital again. Alright, no problem. Watch me teach this little bastard a lesson. Qintian was pumped up by Xiao Xiao's words. He raised his hand and smashed it at Yufeng. Yufeng's eyes were filled with venom. He hated Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao to the core. These two came at the right time, right at the right time. Were they doing this on purpose? Moreover, this trap to smash the car, was it deliberately set up by them? Yufeng was furious, but his mind was clear. He knew that this wasn't a trap, and he could only treat it as a coincidence. A wise man knows when to retreat, and revenge is a dish best served cold. With that thought, Yufeng took a deep breath and looked at Qintian. Bro, how much is your car? I'll pay you. Do I look like a penniless person to you? Qintian raged. I'm using you to act cool. How am I supposed to act cool if you pay me? Qintian naturally wouldn't let this go so easily. Without waiting for him to speak, he started using his Iron Fist arts and started beating Yufeng up. Yufeng was humiliated. He was the young master of House Yu and he'd been beaten up twice in just 2 days. He'd even been injured once. How was he supposed to live like this? What kind of people did Lin Yi have around him? Why were they all like this? Yufeng didn't even have time to think before the fist landed on his body. He could only protect his vitals and crouch on the ground, not daring to fight back. He was afraid that Lin Yi would notice his chi. Lin Yi, just you wait. One day I'll return the humiliation I've suffered today to you 10-fold, 100-fold. After a while, Qintian realized that Yufeng wasn't fighting back, and he felt that it was pointless. Beating a dead man didn't make him look heroic at all, so he kicked Yufeng when he was tired. Are you dead or not? If you're not, get up and pay me. Yufeng was a mystic early phase peak. How could he be knocked out so easily by a golden class early phase physical practitioner? He got up from the ground gloomily, took a deep breath, suppressed his anger and asked, how much? 5 million. Qintian called out. What? Yufeng paused. An Audi TT for 5 million? What kind of joke was this? 5 million was enough to buy 10 of them. Hurry up, stop bullshitting. Do you want to get beaten up again? Did I not beat you up enough just now? Qintian glared at him angrily. You motherfucker. Yufeng couldn't take it anymore. A golden class early phase physical practitioner dared to talk to him like this? Did he not want to live anymore? Yufeng was at his limit. He had an urge to kill this guy even if he had to expose his strength. If Lin Yi interfered, he'd kill Lin Yi on the spot. Even if someone came to investigate, Yufeng could say that he didn't know Lin Yi's background. It was just a conflict that turned into a tragedy. He couldn't be blamed, right? He didn't do it on purpose. Plus, it was the enemy who started it. Songming saw that Yufeng was about to reveal his strength and jumped in fright. He ran over and grabbed Yufeng's hand. Master Xie, hold it in. We have to hold it in. Chapter 1050. His girlfriend admires others, but Lin Yi still killed Yu Bide and injured Uncle Pai. And so, Yufeng knew that if he really killed Lin Yi today, it'd be fine if Lin Yi didn't have a strong background, but if he did, then House Yu would be in danger after he killed Lin Yi. If the hidden House Yu didn't come out, then the common world would be the one in trouble. With that thought, Yufeng gritted his teeth. Alright, Songming, give him 5 million. Qintian was just saying it casually, wasn't that what this thing was? He was asking for a high price, waiting for Xie Yufeng to pay him back. Qintian's bottom line was 500,000, and he only spent 500,000 on the car. He hadn't even registered it yet, so he didn't lose anything. But who knew that this idiot Yufeng would agree? Qintian was overjoyed. He didn't think that he could be this strong when he acted like a hero. The guy was scared. Yufeng transferred 5 million to Qintian's account and brought Songming and Penghu back to school, depressed. He was a little confused. Back when he was studying in Yanjing, how prestigious was he? He didn't even need to use House Yu's name, and he was the king of the school. He didn't even need to use his chi to deal with the students, and he became the focus of the school. He could get whatever he wanted and he could hook up with any girl he wanted. If it didn't work, he could just throw money at them. He was basically successful. But after arriving at Songshan, it seemed to have completely changed. His handsome face didn't work anymore, and the girls here seemed to have a problem with their taste. They all liked Lin Yi tough guys and not pretty boys like him? What kind of taste was that? Plus, the girls here didn't seem to like money, and his advantage was gone. Lin Yi, just you wait, once I get to know your background I'll take your life. And your girls I'll take them all. Yu Feng said angrily as he walked. Yeah, Lin Yi is too much, we'll kill him sooner or later. Songming said. On the other side, Qintian's Audi was smashed and he couldn't drive it anymore. He could only ride with Sun Jingyi. Jingyi, can I ride with you? Qintian said embarrassed. I can't drive this car anymore. Sun Jingyi naturally didn't want Qintian to ride with her, but she couldn't let him ride with Lin Yi either. Lin Yi and Qintian weren't close, and it wasn't guaranteed that Lin Yi didn't have a car. Jingyi didn't know that the Beetle was Lin Yi's car. Lin Yi, you sit in the front passenger seat, Sun Jingyi hesitated and said to Lin Yi. Since Qintian's car couldn't be driven, she could only let him sit in her car, but Sun Jingyi definitely didn't want Qintian to sit next to her. Lin Yi's attention was on Yu Feng and Qintian, and when he heard Sun Jingyi's words, he turned to look at Sun Jingyi. He was stunned. The person in front of him was Sun Jingyi, but compared to the Sun Jingyi he saw last time, she was much more youthful and lively. Sun Jingyi's appearance could be said to be very old-fashioned, pretending to be mature, but now it seemed that this was Sun Jingyi's true face. Right now, Sun Jingyi looked about the same age as Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao. Even if she was older, it wouldn't be more than 1 or 2 years. Xiao Xiao looked at Sun Jingyi then at Lin Yi and couldn't help but frown. Just what was the relationship between this pretty girl and Lin Yi? Why did she let Lin Yi sit in the front passenger seat? They weren't here to ruin the good things between her and Lin Yi, were they? Xiao Xiao didn't want to fight with her love rival anymore. She didn't know how many days she had left to live, and if she wasted it on fighting with her love rival, how was she supposed to enjoy love? She just made friends with Tang Yun and Yushu, and she didn't have to worry about fighting with them. Where did this Sun Jingyi come from? Lin Yi, honey, what's your relationship with this pretty girl? Xiao Xiao whispered into Lin Yi's ear. Pretty girl? Lin Yi blinked, not sure if he should laugh or cry at the nickname Xiao Xiao gave Sun Jingyi. Nothing, just a fake lover to trick Qintian. Oh. Xiao Xiao calmed down after hearing that it was just a fake lover. As far as she was concerned, it didn't matter if it was real or fake, as long as it didn't threaten her position as a small wife, it didn't matter. And since Lin Yi was just Sun Jingyi's fake lover, Xiao Xiao naturally wouldn't worry about Sun Jingyi fighting with her. With that thought, Xiao Xiao agreed without hesitation. Then hurry up and sit in the front passenger seat. Then you'll sit in the back with Qintian? Lin Yi blinked, not expecting Xiao Xiao to be this generous. Yeah, that idiot just got 5 million, that's 5 million. I'll think of a way to get more and then we'll be rich. Xiao Xiao said sneakily. Ah. Lin Yi smiled. 5 million wasn't much to Lin Yi, but since Xiao Xiao was so interested, Lin Yi naturally wouldn't stop her from scamming people. Iron Fist bro, it's been a while since I talked to you. Let's sit in the back and you can tell me more about your recent heroic deeds. Xiao Xiao smiled as she waved at Qintian, her eyes squinted into a line, her face full of admiration. Qintian was still holding a grudge against Sun Jingyi letting Lin Yi sit in the front passenger seat, but after hearing Xiao Xiao's words he started smiling again. If Xiao Xiao was in the back row she'd be able to act cool with him, and that'd be a pretty good thing. It was much better than sitting in the front. With that thought, Qintian quickly nodded. Alright, I'll tell you about some of the recent things. Sun Jingyi looked at Xiao Xiao and frowned. Was this girl Lin Yi's girlfriend or Qintian's pursuer? Why was she so passionate about Qintian in front of Lin Yi? What was going on? Is this your girlfriend? Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi and asked softly. Yeah. Lin Yi didn't deny it. Since he'd accepted Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi naturally treated her as his girlfriend. But she seems to like Qintian a lot? Sun Jingyi reminded Lin Yi. Like him? Haha, you'll know soon. Lin Yi knew that Sun Jingyi meant well, so he wasn't angry. Chapter 1051. Chapter 1049, Xiao Xiao's true goal. The four got in the car, and Sun Jingyi asked directly, where are we going? Look. Qintian wasn't familiar with Songshan, and it was a sudden idea to treat Sun Jingyi to a meal. He didn't know where exactly to eat, and now he was in a difficult spot. He couldn't just say he didn't know, could he? He could only laugh it off. There aren't any good restaurants in Songshan, it's far from Yanjing. That's true, the best hotel in Songshan is Starlight Hotel. It's a far cry from the big restaurant in Yanjing that Iron Fist Bro treated us to last time. Xiao Xiao nodded. A high-class person like Iron Fist Bro would definitely go to the best restaurant. Ah, it's not that high class. As long as Jingyi likes it, it's high class everywhere. Qintian was very pleased with Xiao Xiao's cooperation. But let's go to Starlight Hotel then. It's not as good as Yanjing, but it's a good place in the countryside. I often receive customers there. Qintian had a company in Songshan, and if he didn't know about the hotels in Songshan, wouldn't it be a little fake? In order to not arouse Sun Jingyi's suspicion, he followed Xiao Xiao's lead and went to Starlight Hotel. And he couldn't thank Xiao Xiao enough in his heart. She was so cooperative. Bro Qintian, what did you just say? Receive customers? Did you open a company here? Xiao Xiao asked. Qintian almost kneeled down and kowtowed at Xiao Xiao's words. You really are my mother. You know me too well. This level of cooperation was the best in the world. I was just about to bring the topic to my company. Haha, I opened a trading company, here's my name card. With that, Qintian took out his name card box from his pocket and took out a few name cards, giving one each to Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi, and Sun Jingyi. Sun Jingyi was driving, so after taking the name card, she threw it to the side. Lin Yi, on the other hand, took a look and put it in his pocket. Only Xiao Xiao, after taking the name card, opened her eyes wide in shock. Wow! Is this the legendary gold-plated name card? I heard that only the CEOs of the world's top companies use such high-end business cards, right? This is the symbol of success. It's just a business card. Qintian was delighted. It's such a big company, it'd be weird if we didn't do something to show off. That's true. Xiao Xiao nodded. Looks like your company is pretty big, bro Qintian. You must be making a lot of money, right? It's alright, it's just some pocket money. Qintian nodded mysteriously. A day's worth of profit is only enough to buy a few Audi TTs. Wow, that's amazing. I had to save up for years just to afford an Audi TT, and you can buy a few in a day, bro Qintian? Xiao Xiao's eyes were wide open, twinkling like little stars in her eyes. This is just the beginning. We'll make more money in the future. Qintian said proudly. Then should I call you bro Qintian or CO Wu? Xiao Xiao asked. Haha, either is fine, either is fine. Qintian could feel the pores on his body opening up. This Xiao Xiao was practically made for his career as a pretentious prick. House Wu is one of the noble houses, and with their resources and connections, it's easy for them to start a company and make money. As long as you're not an idiot, you'll be able to make money. Sun Jingyi said coldly. Wah. Qintian froze, his face turning awkward. Sun Jingyi was right. If a noble house's heir started a business, they wouldn't lose money at all. They had connections all over the place, and as long as they found the right path, they'd be able to make a lot of money. But Qintian didn't have the heart to do business at all. He only started a company to show off in front of Sun Jingyi, so he was losing money instead of making a single cent. According to what Sun Jingyi said, he'd become an idiot and an idiot. But Qintian couldn't refute that, because it'd be confirming the fact that he was an idiot. That's true, but that depends on how much you earn. There aren't many people like you, bro Qintian, earning money every day, which means that you're a very powerful person. Xiao Xiao said. Qintian's face lit up with joy when he heard Xiao Xiao's words. The Xiao Xiao was just too much to his liking. Madam, that's great. She solved the awkwardness with just one sentence. She made him one of the best among the noble houses. Haha, I'm just a little bit stronger than the average person. Qintian said proudly. Yeah, didn't you see how domineering bro Qintian was when he taught those bastards a lesson? Xiao Xiao said in admiration. Bro Qintian said, do I look like someone without money? So imposing. Haha, that's right, a bunch of bastards thinking that they'd lose money after wrecking my car? Dream on. If I didn't beat them up so badly that they couldn't even recognize each other, then I wouldn't be Iron Fist Wu. Qintian laughed heartily. He'd already accepted the nickname Iron Fist Wu. He felt that it was very domineering. Yeah, the money they paid was nothing to you, bro Qintian. It was just a day's profit, right? Xiao Xiao asked. Of course, 5 million is nothing to me. Qintian nodded in agreement. It's just a day's worth of profit, I guess. Yeah, that's what I said. Bro Qintian asked them for money because he wanted to teach them a lesson so that they wouldn't wreck cars so easily in the future. Xiao Xiao nodded. That's right, or else 5 million wouldn't even be enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. Qintian said, acting cool. Oh, but 5 million is nothing to you, bro Qintian, but it's a lot of money to a poor person like me. Bro Qintian, why don't you give me the money and I'll buy a good car? It's not like you're interested in the money anyway. Xiao Xiao said seriously. What? Qintian's eyes went wide, stunned. He didn't think that Xiao Xiao would ask him for money. Sun Jingyi was driving, and her hands shook when she heard Xiao Xiao's words. The car almost went off course. She finally understood what Xiao Xiao meant earlier. She was setting up a trap for Qin Tian. She pushed Qin Tian to a high point, and now he couldn't come back down. If he didn't pay up, then what he said before would just be bullshit. Chapter 1052. A step-by-step trap, and this trap was a step-by-step trap, making Qin Tian fall into the trap unknowingly. He wasn't prepared at all. Boiling a frog in warm water pushed Qin Tian to a new height. If he didn't agree to Xiao Xiao's request, then his high and mighty image would crumble instantly, and he would fall from his high position. Jingyi knew very well what kind of person Qin Tian was. He liked to show off, and in a nice way he liked to be in the limelight, but in a bad way he liked to show off. It wasn't very elegant for a girl to say it, but it made sense. Xiao Xiao had been working with Qin Tian to act cool the whole time, making Qin Tian look like an extremely powerful businessman, earning tons of money every day. He didn't even care about 5 million. Sun Jingyi understood why Qin Tian would brag in front of her. He wanted to show off in front of her so that she would worship him. But Qin Tian's idea was a failure. Sun Jingyi knew what kind of person he was, and Sun Jingyi didn't like people like him at all. Sun Jingyi liked smart men, but of course they had to have strength as well. From the looks of it, Lin Yi agreed with the first point, but whether or not he had the strength remained to be seen. In Sun Jingyi's eyes, Lin Yi was just a backup boyfriend, so Sun Jingyi didn't care about the relationship between Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao. She hadn't made up her mind yet, so there was no need for her to participate in the competition. Even if she had made up her mind, Sun Jingyi wasn't confident that Lin Yi would be able to get her family's approval. So, under these circumstances, Sun Jingyi wouldn't do anything. From her perspective, from the day she left home, she only had two choices for love. One was to find a man strong enough, stronger than Qin Tian, and shut her family up completely. The other way was to find a man that she liked, secretly be with him and live a shady life. At least on the surface, this relationship couldn't be made public. It wasn't a big deal to Sun Jingyi, but she was afraid that her family would secretly take revenge on that man. That was the same as harming others. In order to prevent this from happening, if Sun Jingyi chose the second path, she would willingly give up her identity and position, willingly becoming a secret lover. At least on the surface, she had to let that man have a normal and complete family, in order to confuse House Sun's eyes. As for eloping, Sun Jingyi didn't even think about it. It wasn't realistic. The Sun family's connections and ears were very wide. They could hide it for a while, but they couldn't hide it forever. There would be a day when it would be exposed. At that time there would be big trouble. Sometimes Sun Jingyi was very sad. Her parents were dead, and her position in the Sun family was a little unloved. If it weren't for the fact that old Sun was still alive and doted on her a lot, her uncles and aunts would have pushed her to the edge a long time ago. Doing business in Songshan without elder Sun's permission, she would have been captured and married to Qin Tian a long time ago. How could she wait for Qin Tian to chase after her? So, in Sun Jingyi's heart she had a natural dislike for Qin Tian, not to mention liking him. Now that Qin Tian was humiliated in front of Xiao Xiao, she was very happy to see it. It'd be best if Xiao Xiao came every day to humiliate Qin Tian, making him unable to stay in Songshan anymore. Qin Tian's face was red and he didn't know how to answer. Yes, he was a little reckless, but no matter how reckless he was, he knew that money was a good thing. The money he brought from the Wu family to pick up girls was only 10 million yuan. Now he had 5 million yuan in his account. He was feeling smug and was thinking of using the 5 million yuan to show off. In the end he did show off, but it didn't achieve the effect he had expected. In his opinion he would have to show off a few times, right? Now it was all used up after one time. Wasn't it a little too expensive? At this rate he wouldn't be able to use the 10 million twice. But some things had already been said, and if he went back on his words now, not only would he lose his image, but he was also worried that Xiao Xiao would get angry and not cooperate with him anymore. How would his heroic image stand out then? With that thought, Qin Tian could only bear with the pain. He gritted his teeth and put on a nonchalant smile. It's fine, it's fine. It's just 5 million, right? It's nothing. Give me your card number, I'll transfer it to you right now. Ah, I knew it. Bro, Qin Tian is really generous. Anyone who marries a man like you would be happy, they'd probably die from happiness. Xiao Xiao said happily. But it was a little ironic. Happy would die. That's right, anyone who marries Qin Tian would probably really die. He didn't even do anything and he'd already given away 5 million. If this went on, wouldn't he lose all his wealth? Who would want to marry a man like this? Sun Jingyi could hear the sarcasm in her words as well, and she couldn't help but find it funny. This Xiao Xiao was really smart, not taking advantage of the situation. What was even funnier was that the idiot Chintian didn't notice anything amiss. He was grinning like an idiot. Haha, don't fall for me, I already have someone I like. Chintian was very satisfied with Xiao Xiao's compliment, and he made the call with a smile. Sun Jingyi glanced at Lin Yi and saw that he was calm as if he was used to this kind of thing. She couldn't help but frown, and she became even more curious about Lin Yi. 5 million wasn't much to House Sun, but to Sun Jingyi, it was a huge sum of money. Sun Jingyi's trading company didn't even make 5 million a year, and Lin Yi's wife could easily scam 5 million, but Lin Yi didn't seem to care at all. Was he pretending to be calm, or did he not care about the money at all? Xiao Xiao looked like she was born in a rich family, but not a very rich one. Otherwise she wouldn't be interested in Chintian's 5 million. But Lin Yi didn't care about it. What a strange combination. Sun Jingyi drove into the parking lot of Starlight Hotel and parked the car in an empty spot. Chapter 1053. Keep screwing over, sir, is there a total of 4? A waiter came over the moment they entered the hotel lobby, asking Chintian and Lin Yi. Yes, give us a room. Chintian nodded. Sir, you 4 are here for breakfast, right? Why don't you take a booth? There's a minimum fee for a room and it's quiet at this hour, there's no one. The waiter reminded them kindly. After all, it was early in the morning and people usually came to the hotel for breakfast. Breakfast didn't cost much and they couldn't spend tens of thousands all of a sudden. It wasn't even enough to cover the minimum fee for a room. Chintian frowned when he heard this. He'd spent so much effort to treat Sun Jingyi to a meal, and he was here to show off, but the waiter's words made him feel like the waiter was looking down on him. What kind of status did he have? He was the grandson of the noble House Wu, why would he care about the minimum fee? And with his current identity he was the big boss of Songshan City, he could afford to eat a meal here. What's the minimum fee? Chintian frowned, impatient. The waiter here was good at reading people's body language, and he knew that Chintian was getting impatient. He didn't care about the minimum fee, he was rich. But the doorman told him that they came in an Audi A4L. How much was an Audi A4L? Even if they were rich, they might not be able to spend tens of thousands on a meal, right? At that thought, the waiter wasn't sure about Chintian's spending level. The rooms here were separated into different classes, and if he said too much, he was afraid that Chintian wouldn't be able to afford it. He'd lose face, and if he said too little, he was afraid that Chintian would think that he was looking down on him. Chintian bro is a big boss, his name card is made of gold, why would he care about the minimum fee? Xiao Xiao spoke up. Today Chintian bro's car got smashed and they paid him 5 million, but he didn't even look at it before giving it to me. You're questioning someone like him for not being able to afford the minimum fee? Chintian looked at Xiao Xiao thinking, you really know how to fight for me, aren't you? Very good, it seems that this 5 million is not a loss. If you can build up my image in front of Sun Jingyi today and let me win her heart, then this money will not be wasted. The waiter paused. So, he drove an Audi A4L here because his car was smashed. What kind of car could be smashed and get 5 million yuan as compensation? No matter what, it should be at the level of Bentley or Rolls-Royce, right? Plus, Chintian didn't even care about the compensation, giving it to the people around him. Just how rich was he? Are business cards made of gold? Now that 1 gram of gold had risen to more than 300 yuan, a business card should be at least 2 or 3 grams, right? Then the cost would be over 1,000 yuan. Is this a business card? If an ordinary person obtained a business card, wouldn't they become rich? It seemed like the people Chintian interacted with were all important people, or else people would be fighting over his name card. Rich people, definitely rich people. The waiter thought about this and quickly said, Sir, the most luxurious room here is the Crystal Palace on the top floor. It's currently vacant, but the minimum fee is 500,000. 500,000? The minimum fee was 500,000? Chintian froze. This restaurant sure was shady. He had only brought 10 million with him. After deducting the 1 million used to open Xiao Wangba's company and buy a car, he only had 8 million left. This meal had already cost him 500,000. Wasn't that a little too much? From what Chintian saw, a small rural place like Songshan was a world of difference from Yanjing. Even the most expensive restaurant would only cost 30 to 50,000 at most. How much more expensive could it be? The 8 million he had was enough for him to show off a few times, but now it seemed like the situation was different. The waiter heard Chintian say, 500,000, and didn't say anything else, thinking that Chintian thought that 500,000 was too little. She quickly added, Of course, 500,000 for a meal isn't enough to show how noble you are, sir. After all, there are only 4 of you this time, and no matter how expensive the food is, it won't cost too much. Of course, of course. Tian relaxed when the waiter changed his words. This waiter was quite perceptive, seeing that he thought 500,000 was too much. Perfect, he wouldn't lose face if she said it out loud. She was right, there were only 4 of them and they couldn't eat that much. No matter how expensive the food was, it wouldn't cost too much. Tian was feeling proud of himself when he heard the waiter continue. Even if all 4 of you want bird's nest, shark's fin, abalone, and sea cucumber, 500,000 is the most you can ask for. So, I recommend that you get a VIP card here, sir. As long as you deposit 5 million, you can enjoy the treatment of a VIP, and you can reserve the best rooms in the Crystal Palace at any time. There's no minimum spending limit for any room, and you can even enjoy a 20% discount on all the dishes. This is exclusive to VIPs. This VIP card seemed to offer discounts, but it reflected the privileged identity of a VIP. So, in the eyes of the rich, it wasn't that they were looking down on them, but that they had the right to stand out from the masses. Moreover, not everyone could take out 5 million to apply for a meal card. Those who could take out this much money to apply for a card, when they went to the Crystal Palace's private room, who would have the nerve to order those cheap dishes? A meal that cost a few thousand would be too embarrassing to eat in the Crystal Palace. Wah! Tian was dumbfounded. 5 million? Apply for a VIP card? Are you kidding me? 500,000 was already a lot and now 5 million? Was this a scam? However, the reason he came out today was to establish his image and show off. If he flinched at the mention of 5 million, then his previous image would have been in vain. So, he could only grit his teeth and bear with it. 5 million is a piece of cake. But I'm usually too busy with business and I don't have many meals in Songshan. After this 5 million card is completed, I'll probably only use it once. After that, who knows where it'll go. Tian was trying to say, hurry up and bring us to the room, I don't care about the discount, but I don't want the hassle of eating here even if I get a card. I see. The waiter nodded, not suspecting anything, but she was a little disappointed. After all, she would get a portion of the reward for getting a card. Chapter 1054. Chapter 1052, Waste 5 million in Cha? Tian's expression was weird. He was a little angry. This Xiao. Even if she wanted to play along with him, she had to understand the situation first. He clearly didn't have that much money, so why did he need to get a card? That was 5 million. How could he not care? But now, Tian felt like he was being forced into a corner. He really had to get this card. Since he'd already given her 5 million, he didn't need another 5 million. Phone girl, I've spent a lot of money on you today, you need to build up your image. Whether or not I can get Sun Jingyi is all up to you. Tian gritted his teeth. Alright, I'll get a card then. Alright sir, please follow me. The waiter was overjoyed when he heard that Tian had changed his mind. He was a little envious of Xiao. This Tian really was a rich landowner. He was so rich. He'd spent 5 million just like that. The VIP card didn't have to be 5 million, the lowest was 1 million, but he wouldn't get a discount. But Tian acted like he was rich the moment he walked in, so the waiter recommended him the highest level card. Xiao, go do it. Tian's heart was bleeding, but he had to be a good person to the end. He'd already promised Xiao, so he could only let her do it. Tian regretted it a little. If he'd known this would happen, he would have just nodded and agreed to it. That way the card would still be his, but now it was Xiao's after a few words of bullshit. He'd spent 5 million for nothing. He'd spent 10 million in this short amount of time. Did this Xiao really think he was that rich? But, it seemed like his image in her heart was indeed that rich. Otherwise, why would Xiao worship him so much? Why would she always say nice things about him in front of Sun Jingyi? In fact, if it weren't for Sun Jingyi being there and Xiao not being Lin Yi's girlfriend, Tian would have dragged her to the hotel and pushed her onto the bed a long time ago, based on how much Xiao worshipped Tian. But now Tian didn't dare. One reason was that Sun Jingyi was here, and he didn't dare do anything that would make Sun Jingyi misunderstand or dislike him. The second reason was that if he pushed Xiao down, Lin Yi would have even more reason to get close to Sun Jingyi. If he pushed Xiao to his side and told Sun Jingyi about it, the two of them would be a couple and Tian would be in big trouble. Sun Jingyi smiled coldly at Tian's retarded actions. With your standard, you still want to chase after me? Dream on. Sun Jingyi finally understood how powerful Xiao was. It hadn't been long and Tian had already spent 10 million. Lin Yi knew Xiao's personality from the start. She was one of those unlucky people who bumped into her. Other than not messing with Lin Yi, she would mess with whoever she didn't like. After getting the card, Xiao happily came back with the waitress. Tian transferred the money again, his heart hurt. Fortunately, Xiao Xiao praised him a few more times and he was over the moon again. Now that the 5 million card was in Xiao Xiao's hands, she wouldn't spend it recklessly. She wanted it to be a long time. No matter how unlucky she was, she could at least live for a month or two, right? Lunch and dinner were settled for this month or two, and this made Xiao Xiao extremely happy. Naturally, she couldn't spend it all in one day. So Xiao Xiao waved her hand. The Crystal Palace's room is a bit too big for the four of us. It's too spacious, let's change to a smaller room. Qintian almost spat out blood after hearing Xiao Xiao's words. They already got the 5 million card, why didn't they experience the VIP treatment of the Crystal Palace? Why did they have to change to a smaller room? Although the Crystal Palace didn't have a minimum spending limit, it wouldn't look good to only order 10 or 20,000. Xiao Xiao naturally had to be careful with what she got, and so she asked for a smaller room. It didn't matter if she spent less money that way. Qintian wanted to retort, but he was afraid that Xiao Xiao would be pissed if he did, and she wouldn't play along with him when they ate. He stopped himself and changed his words. All right, let's go to a smaller room then, it'll be quieter and less crowded. Yes sir. The waiter didn't care. The 5 million yuan card was already made. It didn't matter where the customers wanted to go. Anyway, the 5 million yuan was definitely going to be spent here. As for whether they ate this time or not, it didn't matter. They entered the room and the waitress took out the menu for Qintian to order. Jingyi, Xiao Xiao, Linny, Lil Bro, what do you guys want to eat? Qintian flipped open the menu, his eyes going back and forth between the expensive delicacies. He'd already spent 5 million and he could only eat it once. Naturally, he wanted more delicious food to enjoy. That was his own money. There were many delicacies that he hadn't tried before, and he wanted to try them all today. Even if he didn't spend all 5 million, he had to spend at least 3 million. Wouldn't that be a huge loss? Xiao Xiao held her card in her hand, getting nervous when she saw Qintian ordering those expensive dishes. She wanted to spend it slowly, she didn't want to spend it all in one day. Linny looked at Xiao Xiao, finding it funny, but he still said, "We don't want the seafood, Xiao Xiao is allergic to it. She got sick after eating seafood in Yanjing last time." Xiao Xiao heard Lin Yi's words and gave him a thumbs up under the table. Lin Yi's honey was so awesome. She was just thinking about how to get Qintian to order less and Lin Yi helped. No wonder that Yushu girl liked to stick to Lin Yi so much. Lin Yi's methods were top-notch as well. Qintian paused, his face turning bitter. I can't eat seafood? Then what other expensive dishes are there? In the restaurant, the most expensive dishes were all related to seafood, so of course the seafood wasn't allowed. It's early in the morning, let's eat something light. Forget about the big fish and meat. Sun Jingyi was a shrewd person. How could she not see what Xiao Xiao was thinking? Since Lin Yi was helping her, Sun Jingyi wouldn't mind helping her screw Qintian over. Sun Jingyi thought that she was on Lin Yi's side. As for Qintian, go play somewhere else. Chapter 1055. Admitting her identity, Sun Jingyi smiled and took the menu, ordering a few dishes that were relatively light. They weren't very cheap, but compared to the delicacies, it was extremely cheap. The dishes added up to less than 8,000. This made Qintian's face change slightly, but these dishes were ordered by Sun Jingyi. What could he say? What could he say? Take a look. Sun Jingyi passed the menu to Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't look at it and passed it to Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao didn't hold back and ordered a few of her favorite dishes, but they weren't very expensive. They were all cheap and delicious. As for the weird dishes, Xiao Xiao naturally didn't order them. After all, it was her own money now. She had to live a long life. That's all? Xiao Xiao said and passed the menu back to the waiter. Qintian wanted to add a few more, but before he could say anything, Xiao Xiao continued, Big bro Qintian is a big boss. He's sick of eating those single-headed abalones. There's nothing good here, so why not change to something lighter? Otherwise, ordering too many delicacies will ruin Big Bro Qintian's image. What? Qintian froze and waved his hand with a smile. That's right. These things are too crappy. It's better to eat something lighter. It's early in the morning and it's bad for your stomach. The waiter didn't think there was anything wrong with it. The guy had already made a 5 million VIP card. He could eat whatever he wanted. Even if he didn't want to eat, he had to greet him with a smile if he wanted a few free plates. 5 million just like that was enough to show off Qintian's wealth. Who would spend money like this without a few hundred million? The waiter took the menu and left the room. Qintian's heart ached for a while before he remembered today's business. Today he wanted to invite Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao to prove their relationship in front of Sun Jingyi. If this was done, then his 10 million wouldn't be wasted. Old bro Lin Yi, this is the first time Xiao Xiao has met Jingyi, right? As the host, Let me introduce them to you. With that, Qintian stood up with a smile and introduced her to Sun Jingyi. Jingyi, this is Lin Yi's girlfriend, Feng Xiaoxiao. We met at the auction in Yanjing and we got along quite well. Hello Xiaoxiao. You don't mind me calling you that, do you? Sun Jingyi smiled as she extended her hand to Xiaoxiao. This was their first official meeting. If you don't mind, I'll call you Big Sis Jingyi. Xiaoxiao had found out about Sun Jingyi's identity from Lin Yi, and she didn't rule her out either. As long as they weren't here to cause trouble between her and Lin Yi, Xiaoxiao would accept them easily. Hehe, then I'll call you Little Sister Xiaoxiao. Sun Jingyi smiled and nodded. Xiaoxiao, this is Sun Jingyi, she's... Jingyi, how should I introduce you to Lin Yi? Qintian looked at Sun Jingyi with a troubled expression, giving this difficult problem to Sun Jingyi. Qintian was a little arrogant, but he wasn't stupid. At least he knew that letting Xiaoxiao and Lin Yi come to eat with Sun Jingyi and expose the relationship between Sun Jingyi and Lin Yi was a strategy. At this time, putting out the relationship between Sun Jingyi and Lin Yi and letting Sun Jingyi explain herself was also a strategy. This also meant that Qintian still had some tricks up his sleeves. It was just that Qintian was usually arrogant and liked to act cool, which was why he suffered so many losses in front of Xiaoxiao. Speaking of which, Xiaoxiao had the title of Little Witch in school. How many people hadn't been taken advantage of by her? Hehe, I'm Lin Yi's lover. Sun Jingyi smiled and nodded at Xiaoxiao. Wah! Qintian's eyes widened. He never would have thought that Sun Jingyi would say that she was Lin Yi's lover in front of Xiaoxiao. Wasn't this just asking for trouble? Would Xiaoxiao be willing? Would she be able to continue eating? Qintian didn't know what Sun Jingyi was thinking. She still dared to say that she was Lin Yi's lover in a situation like this? Before, Qintian thought that Lin Yi was too timing, and Sun Jingyi didn't know about Lin Yi's ugly side. So, he wanted Xiaoxiao and Sun Jingyi to meet, and when Sun Jingyi saw that Lin Yi had a new lover, she definitely chased Lin Yi away in anger. But, things developed out of Qintian's expectations. When Sun Jingyi saw Lin Yi and Xiaoxiao holding hands in front of her, Sun Jingyi didn't seem to care at all. Of course, Qintian didn't think that this would happen. As far as he was concerned, this meant that Sun Jingyi had nothing to do with Lin Yi, and the so-called relationship with Lin Yi was just a facade. Lin Yi was just someone she'd grabbed. And so, Qintian was very happy. Now, Sun Jingyi wouldn't have an excuse to reject him anymore. But now, something unexpected happened. Sun Jingyi said that she was Lin Yi's lover. What was going on? I've heard a lot about you. Xiaoxiao, on the other hand, extended her hand to Jingyi with a serious face. I'll be counting on you, Jingyi sis. You guys. Qintian rubbed his eyes. He thought he was dreaming. Why wasn't Xiaoxiao angry? Why was she acting so friendly with Sun Jingyi? What was the meaning of this? What about us? Qintian bro? Xiaoxiao pretended like she didn't know anything and smiled at Qintian. How could you let your boyfriend find a lover? Qintian was flabbergasted as he asked. Oh, what's wrong with finding a lover? If he didn't find a lover, would I be his girlfriend? I'm just Lin Yi's second wife, not the main wife. Even the main wife doesn't object to him finding a second wife. Why would I object? Xiaoxiao explained. Qintian was even more shocked. This Xiaoxiao wasn't Lin Yi's main wife? She was also Lin Yi's second wife? But as shocked as Qintian was, Sun Jingyi was even more shocked. She said that she was Lin Yi's lover, but it was just an agreement with Lin Yi. She was Lin Yi's lover in name, not in reality. Sun Jingyi liked Lin Yi, but before she made up her mind, she wouldn't go any further with Lin Yi. Chapter 1056. So depressing from Sun Jingyi's point of view, it was normal for a man to have multiple wives in a noble house. After all, the men from noble houses were very capable, so it wasn't strange at all. But in the common world it was a little strange. Wulian people had their own rules and the common world had its own rules. Every level was different. Sun Jingyi couldn't imagine that Lin Yi had multiple wives at such a young age. And from Xiaoxiao's reaction, it could be seen that her relationship with the first wife was very good, and she didn't object to Lin Yi finding another lover. There were only two possibilities that could cause such a situation. One was that these women were idiots, they couldn't find a boyfriend, so they were willing to share a man. But the possibility of this was zero. How outstanding was Xiaoxiao? It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that a girl as beautiful as her was one in a million. Looking at Xiaoxiao, the first wife couldn't be any worse. Why would a girl like her need to share a man with someone else? The second possibility was that Lin Yi was too outstanding, and these outstanding girls were willing to sacrifice themselves for him. This was the situation in noble houses. But until now, Sun Jingyi didn't think that Lin Yi was outstanding in any way. Was being a bandit a promising career? Jingyi frowned inwardly. She was getting more and more curious about this man. This man seemed to have a lot of secrets on him. Jingyi, you're from a noble house too. How can you be someone else's lover? Qintian's heart was bleeding. He was furious. Sun Jingyi was willing to be a lover for a little tramp, rather than marry him legally? What? Was he that weak? On the surface, however, he still had to put on the airs of a big brother as he lectured Jingyi. Lil bro Lin Yi is a great man, but having too many wives is just a waste of a family's harmony. And Jingyi, think about it, if you were to be someone else's lover and Grandpa's son found out, wouldn't he be furious? Really? Couldn't they be lovers? I remember that Grandpa Wu seems to have several wives, right? Sun Jingyi said disapprovingly. Look. Qintian paused, his face bitter. Isn't this a different situation? Our Wu family is also an aristocratic family, and aristocratic families are not restricted by the rules of the secular world. Naturally, we can find a few more wives. And the most important thing is that my grandpa is very strong. Those wives don't dare to plot against each other. They are very respectful in front of my grandma. Oh, I'm also from an aristocratic family, so I'm not restricted, Sun Jingyi said lightly. Qintian's face turned ugly. He didn't think that Sun Jingyi would be this stubborn. He told her that Lin Yi was just a normal person and he couldn't play with so many wives. They'd definitely fight. But in front of Lin Yi, he couldn't say that Lin Yi was useless. If he said that, he'd offend Lin Yi, and when Lin Yi left with Xiao Xiao, wouldn't it be awkward? And if Sun Jingyi left with Lin Yi, it'd be even worse. At that moment, the waiter came in with the dishes. Qintian could only shut his mouth and think of a solution, depressed. What was he supposed to do to turn Jingyi's mind around? Damn it, this Xiao Xiao wasn't jealous at all, and Sun Jingyi was even crazier. She wanted to be Lin Yi's lover. What was so good about this Lin Yi? Qintian couldn't see any good points about Lin Yi, no matter how he looked at him. If it weren't for Sun Jingyi, Qintian really wanted to slap Lin Yi to death, so that he wouldn't get angry in front of him. The dishes were served and Xiao Xiao didn't care anymore. She ate to her heart's content, sweeping everything on the table clean. She didn't care what other people thought of her. She didn't have long to live, and as long as Lin Yi didn't dislike her, she'd be fine. But Lin Yi was here to eat with Xiao Xiao, and the main goal was to eat. Not only did Lin Yi take the initiative to put food in Xiao Xiao's bowl, but he also told her to eat more. And so Xiao Xiao ate happily. Sun Jingyi didn't eat much and she was full after eating a little. Qintian, on the other hand, didn't eat at all. He was feeling depressed. How could he eat? The situation was far from what he expected. As for asking Xiao Xiao to help him act cool, Qintian temporarily gave up on that idea. Jingyi's heart wasn't on him at all, so there was no point in acting cool. What should he do? Qintian furrowed his brows. The most important thing right now was Xiao Xiao's attitude. If she strongly rejected Sun Jingyi, or urged Lin Yi to draw a line with Sun Jingyi, then he could still do something. Otherwise he had no hope at all. The other method was to call Sun Jingyi's family and tell them that Sun Jingyi was someone else's mistress. But this was a method he couldn't use unless he had no other choice. If Sun Jingyi knew the truth, she'd hate Qintian even more. Tattling behind someone's back was a taboo. Some people were happy while others were sad. Xiao Xiao ate happily and Qintian was depressed. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi were watching him make a fool of himself. Qintian had prepared a few tricks to act cool before he came, but he didn't use any of them. He didn't have the mood to use them now. Even with Xiao Xiao's cooperation, there was no point in showing it off. Sun Jingyi's heart wasn't on him. The meal ended in a hurry, and Qintian got himself a taxi and left. Jingyi, on the other hand, drove Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi back to school. Once in the car, Sun Jingyi couldn't help but laugh. She gave Xiao Xiao a thumbs up. Lil sis Xiao Xiao, you sure know how to trick people. Qintian lost 10 million in one morning. Xiao Xiao smiled, pleased with herself. She was quite confident when it came to scamming people, but a fool like Qintian was a rare sight to see. Chapter 1057. More and more curious, sure. Xiao Xiao easily agreed to Sun Jingyi's invitation and sat in the front seat of the Audi A4L. Lin Yi didn't mind since he could guess Sun Jingyi's goal. Xiao Xiao herself wasn't that familiar to Lin Yi, so Lin Yi wasn't worried that she'd let anything slip. After getting in the car, Sun Jingyi asked, "Where are you guys going? Back to where you were before?" "Yeah, back to Songshan's first school," Xiao Xiao nodded. "Oh, okay, where do you guys live?" Sun Jingyi asked. "We go to school there." Xiao Xiao blurted out but regretted it immediately. Xiao Xiao wasn't stupid, she knew that she'd fallen into Sun Jingyi's trap. Sun Jingyi was testing her and Lin Yi's identity. From the current situation, It seemed like Sun Jingyi didn't know that Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao were studying at Songshan's first school. Xiao Xiao turned to look at Lin Yi, a little worried. Seeing that Lin Yi didn't show anything special, he was still resting in the back seat with his eyes closed. Only then did she let out a sigh of relief. In fact, the reason why Lin Yi hid his identity was because he was afraid that Sun Jingyi would keep bothering him if she found out where he went to school. That half-lover's promise was a bit of a tie. If Sun Jingyi came to Lin Yi for trouble in the future, would Lin Yi be able to do anything else? Therefore, Lin Yi didn't tell Sun Jingyi that he was a student of First Senior High School. He only told Sun Jingyi to wait for him near First Senior High School. However, during this period of time, Sun Jingyi didn't bother Lin Yi again, so it seemed that Sun Jingyi wasn't the kind of person who would trouble Lin Yi for anything. So Lin Yi didn't mind telling Sun Jingyi his identity. You are studying in First High School? Are you all high school students? Sun Jingyi was taken aback. She previously thought that Lin Yi should be younger than her, but that was also her age after she dressed up. In her opinion, Lin Yi should be about the same age as her actual age, around 20 years old. She never thought that Lin Yi was only a high school student. Wasn't the disparity too great? Lin Yi was actually a student? How was this possible? Wasn't he a great bandit? Yes, a high school student. Seeing that Lin Yi didn't have any special expression, Xiao Xiao told Sun Jingyi the truth. Oh my god. Sun Jingyi confirmed this information and was a little embarrassed. She was already 20 years old, how could she have feelings for a guy younger than her? Then why are you Lin Yi's small wife? He has a big wife. Sun Jingyi quickly changed the topic. Yes, he has a big wife and I'm his small wife. Xiao Xiao nodded quickly. Aren't you Lin Yi's lover too? This lover is only half, it's just a name, hee. Sun Jingyi explained, it's just because Wu Qintian is too clingy, I used Lin Yi as a shield. Oh, I see. Xiao Xiao was a little disappointed. I thought I could play 3P with you. Xiao Xiao had gotten bolder after spending more time with Yushu. She was actually quite curious about the 3 batches. After all, she didn't have much time left. She wanted to try anything new. She could tell that Tang Yun was a more traditional and conservative girl. She wouldn't play 3P with her in such a short amount of time. Even if she was alone with Lin Yi, Tang Yun probably wasn't ready yet. As for Yushu, Lin Yi clearly didn't have that kind of feelings for her yet. How could Xiao Xiao not see that? If Lin Yi had that kind of feelings, Mengyao and Yushu would have been pushed down by Lin Yi a long time ago. After all, they lived in the same villa and interacted with each other every day. And so Xiao Xiao turned her attention to Sun Jingyi. Xiao Xiao was actually quite conservative, but the current situation didn't allow her to be conservative anymore. As far as she was concerned, since she had already decided on Lin Yi, it didn't matter what she did with him. She wouldn't be able to do anything with other men in this lifetime anyway, so she decided to be bold. Wah! Sun Jingyi almost drove the car into the pavement after hearing Xiao Xiao's shocking words. She subconsciously stepped on the brakes. Lin Yi, on the other hand, frowned bitterly. Xiao Xiao and Yushu were becoming more and more alike. He really didn't know if getting them together was a blessing or a curse. But the good thing was that Xiao Xiao didn't have much longer to live. But at the thought, Lin Yi's heart tightened. Was it really good? Lin Yi really didn't want Xiao Xiao to leave. Even if she did it with Yushu, Lin Yi didn't want to lose her. It had only been 2 days and Xiao Xiao's position in Lin Yi's heart was getting more and more important. Especially when he heard that Xiao Xiao had woken up in the middle of the night to make him pastries. Especially this morning, Lin Yi was extremely touched. And so, Lin Yi really wanted Xiao Xiao to live. Lin Yi sighed softly, starting to worry. Haha, I'm just joking. Xiao Xiao quickly shut up after seeing that Sun Jingyi was scared by her words. Haha, it's nothing, it's pretty fun. Sun Jingyi wiped the sweat off her forehead. 3 batches. What a shocking idea. Sun Jingyi came from a noble house, but she was actually quite conservative. Her grandfather and uncles had multiple women, but they didn't say 3 batches at the same time. But at the end of the day, it was still because women didn't get along with each other on the surface, and no one would really try to get close to another person. It was just that in noble houses, the men were more dominant. And so, Sun Jingyi grew up in an environment like this, and she didn't really mind men having multiple wives. This was also why she wanted to be someone else's mistress. But that man had to be someone Sun Jingyi liked. Someone as mediocre as Iron Fist Wu, Sun Jingyi would be depressed for the rest of her life if she married him. Sun Jingyi glanced at the resting Lin Yi in the rearview mirror, and her curiosity towards Lin Yi grew even stronger. Just what did Lin Yi do to make Xiao Xiao fall in love with him like this? Sun Jingyi could feel that Xiao Xiao really didn't have any hostility towards her at all. In fact, she had the intention to accept her. This situation made Sun Jingyi very confused. Even the concubines of the past emperors were all scheming against each other, let alone the women of noble houses. She had never heard of any of them getting along with each other, but Lin Yi did it. Just what kind of unknown ability did he have? Chapter 1058. Chapter 1056. Not much time, Jingyi sis, let's keep in touch. I quite like you. Xiao Xiao said seriously. It seemed like she still hadn't forgotten about the 3 batches plan. She wanted to put it into practice before she died. Okay. Sun Jingyi smiled faintly. She didn't mind keeping in touch with Xiao Xiao, but she wanted to know more about Lin Yi. Sun Jingyi felt like she'd underestimated Lin Yi. This guy wasn't as simple as he looked. You should consider my suggestion. I don't have much time left. Xiao Xiao said anxiously. You don't have much time left? Sun Jingyi paused. Lin Yi, who was sitting in the back seat, opened his eyes abruptly. Ah yeah, I'm a 12th grader already. Maybe I'll go to university somewhere else, and I won't be able to see you so often. Xiao Xiao realized that she'd let the cat out of the bag, but she was smart enough to change the topic. Oh, university, haha, but I'm afraid I can't accept your suggestion for now. Jingyi shrugged apologetically. She was a natural and poised person, and wouldn't be too shy even when the topic was brought up. If Lin Yi could really move Sun Jingyi's heart, then Sun Jingyi might be able to accept Xiao Xiao's suggestion, but now wasn't the time. Lin Yi closed his eyes again. He knew that Xiao Xiao had let the cat out of the bag, but he'd recovered in time. People who didn't know the truth might get tricked by her. Lin Yi sighed softly. Xiao Xiao's suggestion had moved Lin Yi, but Lin Yi couldn't help her fulfill her wish. If Xiao Xiao could keep living, perhaps there would be such a day, but in terms of time, there wasn't enough time at all. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was a principled man. He wouldn't force her to do anything. His occupation made it so that he couldn't think with the lower half of his body. This time, the car didn't stop at the snack street behind the school, but directly at the entrance of the first high school. Goodbye, Jingyi sis, remember to text me. Xiao Xiao and Sun Jingyi had established a relationship very easily, and she was saying goodbye reluctantly. Lin Yi realized that if Xiao Xiao wanted to make friends, it would be very easy. Her personality had always been lively, and she could easily get other people's approval. All right. Sun Jingyi nodded and looked at Lin Yi worried. Wu Qintian won't let this go easily, I'm afraid he'll cause you trouble. Oh whatever. I'm not afraid of him. Lin Yi shrugged indifferently. Don't underestimate him. Qintian may look dumb, but he's still from a noble house. You know the power of noble houses, right? He said that you guys met at the auction in Yanjing? Sun Jingyi wanted to tell Lin Yi about the power of noble houses, but she remembered that Qintian said that he met Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao at the auction in Yanjing. Sun Jingyi found it strange at that time. Wasn't the auction in Yanjing the one house you held? Sun Jingyi was from House Sun and naturally she knew about the auction. Although she didn't attend, she knew that the people who attended the auction were either rich or powerful. Other than noble houses, the people who could attend the auction were all people with power and background. But Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao, how could they attend the auction? Sun Jingyi was curious and wanted to ask, but Qintian was there so she couldn't. Now that she thought about it, she was confused. I went with a friend. Lin Yi smiled and said faintly. Lin Yi didn't tell Sun Jingyi too much about his company. After all, their relationship hadn't reached that level yet. To put it bluntly, the feeling that Sun Jingyi gave Lin Yi at first was only slightly more familiar than a passerby. She wasn't even as familiar as Wang Xinyan. Lin Yi felt that his relationship with Wang Xinyan was closer. After all, she was the first girl Lin Yi met after coming to Songshan. She was kind and Lin Yi liked her more than Sun Jingyi. At least that was the case now. Wang Xinyan and Lin Yi didn't have any benefits involved. It was a one-sided relationship. Just like when Wang Xinyan reminded Lin Yi that there was a scammer on the train, she didn't expect anything from Lin Yi. But Sun Jingyi was different. When Sun Jingyi first met Lin Yi, her goal was clear. She wanted Lin Yi to pretend to be her boyfriend and chase Qintian away. What happened after that was the same. She hired Lin Yi to steal her competitor's recording, but in exchange she became Lin Yi's half-lover. Lin Yi always kept a respectful distance from women like Sun Jingyi who liked to play tricks. Although Sun Jingyi was pretty, Lin Yi didn't want to put himself in danger while admiring her beauty. But after today's interaction, Lin Yi's impression of Sun Jingyi changed a little. Sun Jingyi wasn't the clingy type of girl he'd imagined her to be. Thinking back to the things she'd asked for help with, they were all things she couldn't handle no matter how hard she tried. She'd only come to him because she had no other choice, and she hadn't called to bother him for a while after that. This made him feel that Sun Jingyi wasn't a bad person. She might have been using him at first, but she didn't treat him like an idiot and keep demanding things from him. I see. Sun Jingyi saw that Xiao Xiao had gotten off the car, and she lowered her voice with a smile. I thought you wanted to steal something from the auction. Ha! Lin Yi shrugged. I'm not a great thief, I'm just a guest. What do you do for a living? Student? Sun Jingyi asked. You really want to know? Lin Yi asked. Yeah. Sun Jingyi nodded. Murder and arson. Lin Yi said faintly. Sun Jingyi blinked but then frowned. Fine, I won't tell you. You're lying again. Isn't murder and arson the same as being a great thief? Haha. Lin Yi didn't explain anything. So you don't have to worry about Wu Qintian doing anything to me. If he pisses me off, I'll go to his house and kill and burn. Sun Jingyi was speechless. She didn't know what to say after seeing Lin Yi's nonchalant face. Then be careful. Lin Yi nodded and got off the car, quickly catching up to Xiao Xiao. Chapter 1059. Chapter 1057, Lin Yi's strength. Sun Jingyi was talking to me, telling me to be careful of Wu Qintian, Lin Yi said. Oh, will you be careful then? Xiao Xiao asked. I think he should be careful of you, Lin Yi smiled. Haha. Xiao Xiao was a little happy. I think so too. But that Xie Yufeng, you should be careful. When I'm not around, you and Shu shouldn't mess with him alone, Lin Yi said. Oh? What's wrong with Xie Yufeng? What's so great about him? What can he do to us? Xiao Xiao didn't understand. Xie Yufeng is a practitioner, a mystic early phase peak. Lin Yi didn't hide this from Xiao Xiao. With Xiao Xiao's family background, she definitely knew the difference in strength. Ah. Xiao Xiao was shocked by Lin Yi's words. A mystic early phase peak? Really? Really? Lin Yi nodded. No way. A mystic early phase peak, is this useless? Beaten black and blue by a few hooligans? Sitting on a nail shoe? Did you get beaten up by Iron Fist Wu today? Xiao Xiao didn't believe it. She found it hard to believe. He is indeed a mystic early phase peak. Lin Yi nodded seriously, but for some reason, he's been hiding his strength in front of me. Xiao Xiao frowned after hearing Lin Yi's words, thinking about it. If it was as Lin Yi said, then Xie Yufeng did seem to be hiding his strength. Whether it was that day in the karaoke bar or this morning, Yufeng seemed to have the confidence to teach the opponent a lesson, but then he suddenly gave in. Xiao Xiao was confused before, but she didn't think about it. Now that she thought about it, it was indeed strange. Only Lin Yi's explanation could explain it. In front of Lin Yi, Xie Yufeng was purposely acting like he had no strength. Then what does he mean by doing this? Is he targeting you? Xiao Xiao wasn't stupid, she knew what was at stake here. There had to be a reason why Yufeng was doing this, and it was most likely because of Lin Yi. Xiao Xiao's heart tightened at the thought. She didn't know when it started, but she started treating Lin Yi as her boyfriend, someone she cared about. He wasn't a so-called love experiment or target of revenge anymore. It was a gradual change, and even Xiao Xiao herself wasn't aware of it. A person's thoughts were the hardest to fathom. In many cases, love and hate happened in an instant. It was possible for hate to give birth to love, and it was also possible for love to give birth to hate. Xiao Xiao's current situation was one of love born from hate. Maybe he's just a peak early mystic class master. Lin Yi shrugged and said nonchalantly. Oh. Xiao Xiao's eyes lit up at Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi appearing at the auction meant that Lin Yi must have some understanding of the noble houses. It was normal for him to know about the ranking system in the martial arts world, so Xiao Xiao didn't think there was anything wrong with it. But Lin Yi was looking down on Xie Yufeng, and that meant something. If Lin Yi knew what a peak early mystic class master meant and he was looking down on him like that, then how strong was Lin Yi? Could it be that Lin Yi was a practitioner as well? Someone from the martial arts world? Xiao Xiao couldn't believe it. Because of her father's job, Xiao Xiao naturally knew more than others. But she also knew how rare martial arts people were in the common world. Golden class masters were easier to deal with. After all, some rich people had masters like that around them. Many practitioners stagnated after reaching the golden class. They didn't have a higher goal in their cultivation, so they would naturally pursue the pleasures of money. It wasn't uncommon for them to become the lackeys and thugs of the rich, but there weren't that many mystic class practitioners. Normally, if a mystic class practitioner had the slightest chance of advancing, they wouldn't become the bodyguards of the rich. But there were no absolutes in this world. Although mystic class practitioners were rare, there were still a few of them. But Lin Yi, a high schooler, was looking down on a peak early mystic class. Then he himself. Xiao Xiao only knew that Lin Yi was strong, but she didn't know that Lin Yi was this strong. This meant that Lin Yi might really be stronger than Xie Yufeng. Lin Yi, honey. You. Xiao Xiao's eyes were wide open as she looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. You're not stronger than Xie Yufeng, are you? Lin Yi nodded. Since he'd accepted Xiao Xiao, there were some things he wouldn't hide from her. Tang Yun, Meng Yao and Yushu all knew about his strength. Plus, Xiao Xiao's father, Tianlong, was his former comrade. There was no reason for Lin Yi to hide anything. I'm just a little stronger than Xie Yufeng. Lin Yi smiled. Wow. Xiao Xiao heard Lin Yi's confirmation and couldn't help but cry out. Xiao Xiao, you're too awesome. Your random boyfriend is actually a mystic class master. Waha, I've hit the jackpot. Lin Yi was speechless as he looked at Xiao Xiao's excited face. He didn't know what she was so happy about. What was the point of being a mystic class? It couldn't cure her illness? Haha, doesn't that mean you're stronger than most of the masters from noble houses? Xiao Xiao circled around Lin Yi, her eyes roaming around Lin Yi's body as if trying to see if there was anything unusual about him. No wonder you could join the auction, you're a master too. Not back then, I was just golden class late phase. Lin Yi said. But I can usually deal with masters stronger than me. Thinking back to the last time he leveled up, it was all thanks to Xiao Xiao. He might have touched the wall of mystic, but if it wasn't for Xiao Xiao, he wouldn't have become a mystic so easily. Xiao Xiao blinked at Lin Yi's words. But Lin Yi said that to reassure Xiao Xiao. After all, she didn't have much time left, and Lin Yi didn't want her to worry every day. So don't think too much. Whether it's Wu Qintian or Xie Yufeng, there's no problem. Not just Wu Qintian, even if his grandfather came, I wouldn't be afraid. Lin Yi smiled. Chapter 1060. Old Yu tricked Xiao Xiao didn't think much of it at the time, but now that she thought about it, could it be that Lin Yi did it to protect her? Xiao Xiao's heart warmed at the thought, and she was incredibly touched. Her relationship with Lin Yi wasn't that good back then, was it? Was he willing to take the risk for her? If Lin Yi was still a golden class late phase then, he wouldn't be a match for Gong Gao at all. Lin Yi doing something like this was enough to show how much Lin Yi cared about her. Xiao Xiao's heart was moved and she didn't care that they were in front of the school. She hugged Lin Yi and started sobbing. Xiao Xiao's crying scared Lin Yi out of his wits. What was going on? She was fine a moment ago, why was she crying all of a sudden? Xiao Xiao couldn't have been possessed by that crybaby fatty lie, could she? Xiao Xiao, what's wrong? Lin Yi was a little scared and a little embarrassed. After all, they were in front of the school and a little girl was crying while hugging him. It wasn't a big deal to those who knew since Xiao Xiao was his girlfriend. But what about those who didn't know? Wah. Lin Yi, honey, you're so good to me. Xiao Xiao said as she cried. Lin Yi froze. How was he being good to Xiao Xiao? You were in Yanjing at the auction. You knew how strong that old man Gong Gao was, but you still stood in front of me. Xiao Xiao explained after seeing Lin Yi's confusion. Ugh. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry at the words. This thing you're talking about? Wah. I'm so touched. No one's been this nice to me since I was young. Xiao Xiao was telling the truth. Tianlong couldn't be by Xiao Xiao's side because of work, so Lin Yi was the person who treated Xiao Xiao the best. Then don't cry. This is the school gate, it's not good if other people see. Although Lin Yi didn't really care about other people's opinions, this was still not a good thing, so Lin Yi reminded Xiao Xiao. I don't care, I just want to hug you and cry. Let me be touched. Xiao Xiao started acting coquettishly. Lin Yi didn't know what to do, so he let Xiao Xiao hug him. But after a while Lin Yi couldn't take it anymore. Alright Xiao Xiao, let's go back to school? No. I want to keep hugging you. Xiao Xiao loved the feeling of leaning on Lin Yi's arms. She didn't want to lose this feeling. If you don't listen to me then I won't be nice to you anymore. Lin Yi couldn't do anything but scare Xiao Xiao. Oh. Okay. This worked and Xiao Xiao let go of Lin Yi unwillingly. The tears on her face had dried up long ago, and she just wanted to stay in Lin Yi's arms. Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi went back to the classroom. It was a smooth process. The Miss and Yushu knew about Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao's relationship, so they turned a blind eye to it. But Xie Yufeng on the other hand, looked at Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao with a venomous glare. It was because of Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi that he lost 5 million. Yufeng had to get his revenge for this. Yuren was a small owner of a grocery store running a small business. His family's financial situation was very tight, and because he didn't have much money in his hands, he didn't expand his business. The money he made every day was just enough for his family to live on. However, Yuren didn't want his family to be poor forever. He wanted to change, so when he earned a lot of money he would buy a few lottery tickets to entertain himself. Yuren's dream was to hit the 5 million jackpot one day. That way his family's life would get better. Old you, what are you thinking about? A butcher came over when it was almost time to get off work. Nothing, I'm packing up and going home. Yurin said as he packed up. Are you free tonight? I'll bring you to see something exciting. The butcher said. What kind of exciting thing? Yurin paused, not knowing what the butcher was talking about. He shook his head. It's that kind of erotic show, right? I'm not going, my wife's really strong. If she finds out, I'll be in trouble. Hey, you really are a coward. The butcher shook his head in disdain. What erotic show? It's a boxing show. Do you know about underground boxing? It's very exciting. Boxing show? Yurin heard that it wasn't an erotic show, so he didn't reject immediately. Is the ticket expensive? It's free. The butcher laughed. My nephew has a friend in the underworld, he gave him a few tickets and I got 2. Let's go, we'll go see. With that, the butcher put his oily hand on Yurin's shoulder and pulled him away. The butcher was actually here to scam Yurin, he had a bad heart. He took 500 from his nephew just to trick Yurin into watching an underground boxing match. Otherwise, he wouldn't have thought of Yurin for such a good thing. It's free? There's such a good thing? Yurin didn't believe it. Even if there's such a good thing, why would you think of me? Yurin wasn't an idiot, he knew that this butcher was just a normal relationship with him, and he didn't look for anyone else but him. Yurin was confused. Didn't you look after my stall for half a day a few days ago? You even helped me sell some meat, so naturally I thought of Yurin bro first when there's a good thing. The butcher smiled. Is that so? Yurin heard the butcher's words and believed him a little, but he still asked, You really don't need money? I don't have a penny. My daughter Yuan took all my money home. You don't need money. The butcher smiled. Let's go, just come with me. Yurin was relieved after hearing the butcher's words, and went to watch the match with the butcher. At first, Yurin wasn't very confident, but when he entered the arena with the butcher and sat in the audience, Yurin finally understood that he didn't need to spend a cent to watch the match. Now that he didn't have to worry anymore, Yurin started talking to the butcher. This boxing match, who organized it? Is it good? Chapter 1061. The fisherman takes the bait. It's that scary? Yurin jumped in fright after hearing the meat seller's words. Haha, there's nothing scary about it, it's exciting. The butcher waved his hand and smiled. It won't reach the audience, will it? That's pretty scary, maybe we shouldn't watch. Yurin was a coward, it didn't matter to him if others fought or not, but he didn't want to drag himself into it. This was the tragedy of the people at the bottom of the society. All they thought about was when they'd be able to eat and wear warm clothes, and what happened to others had nothing to do with them. Old man Yurin was this kind of person. Look at your cowardly face. How could they fight in the audience seats? I've been here a few times already, you can watch later. The butcher smiled. At this moment, a young man sitting beside Yurin spoke up as well. This was someone Little Scorpion had arranged, his status was similar to the butcher. Not only is it exciting, but you can also make a fortune. Look at me, I didn't even have a cent, but after watching a few matches, I'm a millionaire now. The young man said proudly. What? You became a millionaire without a cent? How is that possible? Yurin paused, he wasn't interested in the underground fights, but after hearing the young man say that he became a millionaire from penniless, he was interested. Yurin wanted to win the 5 million lottery even in his dreams, so he was very interested in these kinds of things. Haha, what's impossible? The young man looked at Yurin with disdain. Do you know what gambling is? Gambling? Yurin paused. You've never played before, right? I've played this before too. The meat seller laughed and told Yurin the rules of the bet. Yurin understood, but he was still scared. If I lose, wouldn't I get nothing? Isn't this just gambling? If you buy a lottery ticket and don't win, wouldn't you get nothing? The young man said with disdain. A country bumpkin like you shouldn't have any money. I'll show you. Yurin didn't say anything, but he was moved. Going from penniless to a millionaire was a legend. With that in mind, Yurin paid close attention to the young man and the meat seller's actions. Before the match started, someone had already started collecting bets on a tablet computer. The young man directly bet 100,000 on someone called Red Dragon to win, and the butcher had bet 10,000 on Red Dragon. Yurin looked at how confident they were and couldn't help but be tempted. He asked, Can I bet 10 yuan? Puchi. Hearing Yurin's words, the young man burst into laughter, his eyes wide open. I say, old man, the lowest bet here is 10,000, you only have 10, who's going to bet for you? I see. Yurin blushed, but he was also shocked. 10,000, that was half a year's worth of income, and he was taking it out to bet? Wasn't there something wrong with that? What he didn't understand was why the butcher and the young man were betting so confidently. Could it be that the red dragon they were betting on was the ever-victorious general? Ha, I say, old you, listen to me, hurry up and bet or you'll regret it later. The butcher looked at Yuren and reminded him. That red dragon, is he strong? Yuren couldn't help but ask. That's pretty strong. The butcher curled his lips. 3 matches yesterday, he won every single one, he didn't even give his opponent a chance to breathe. I'm regretting it yesterday, that's why I bet 10,000 on the last match. If I had bet before, I'd be a millionaire right now. Is that so? Yuren was tempted, but he was still worried. 9 out of 10 bets are cheating. If that's the case, wouldn't the owner of this arena lose his money? I don't know about that. This kind of thing isn't done behind the scenes. It's a real fight. If you don't fight to the death, there's no way to tell who's the winner. So, even if you want to fake it, there's no way, right? The butcher said. Oh. Yuren was tempted, but he was still very cautious. He wanted to wait and see. The result made Yuren a little depressed, but at the same time he was looking forward to it. There was no doubt that the red dragon won. In just a few moves he had defeated his opponent on the stage. Moreover, the young man and the butcher weren't wrong. They were indeed fighting for real, because the red dragon's opponent's head had already been blown off by the red dragon. This kind of bloody scene scared Yuren, but he didn't sympathize with the people who were killed. As far as he was concerned, since he came to fight in the underground arena, he should have expected this kind of ending. These people died, what did it have to do with him? What made Yuren depressed was that he didn't listen to the young man and the butcher's suggestion and bet. If he had bet 10,000 on the red dragon, wouldn't he have 20,000 now? The young man's 500,000 turned into 1 million, and the butcher's 10,000 turned into 20,000. Yuren was really envious. Such a good chance to get rich and he missed it. If he had bet 10,000, he would have earned 10,000 and that would have been half a year's worth of income, but at the thought, Yuren was even more depressed. He couldn't help but blame himself. Yuren, why couldn't you be more daring? If you had bet 500,000, wouldn't you have 1 million? But Yuren's depression deepened at the thought. He could barely take out 10,000, but if he were to take out 500,000, wouldn't that be a fantasy? He'd have to sell his house. But his house was rented, it wasn't even his. The new round of bets began, and it was still the red dragon against another unknown fighter, Ares. Yuren wanted to bet as well, but he didn't have a single cent with him. How could he? The young man used bank transfer and the butcher used cash, but Yuren didn't have any cash with him, and he didn't have the phone transfer function. Even if he wanted to bet, he couldn't. He regretted it. Even if he only brought 10,000, it would have been fine. Why didn't he have a single cent? Chapter 1062. Chapter 1060, The Last Gamble. I'm borrowing money from the arena, this place offers high-interest loans. The young man said impatiently, you can ask later, I'm busy betting right now, I'll tell you after I'm done. You didn't ask before, but now that you're asking, can't you see I'm busy? Wait bro, it'll be too late. How could Yuren wait until he was done? Then it'd be too late. You wanted to bet now. You can borrow money from the casino. 500,000 at most, just sign an agreement and it'll be fine. The young man waved his hand impatiently. He was doing it on purpose. If he was too enthusiastic, it'd raise Yuren's suspicions. As expected, the more he acted like this, the more anxious Yuren was. He didn't care anymore, he'd wait for the person to come and ask for the loan. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As long as he bet, he'd be able to make money. Yuren didn't want to miss this chance. However, the loan wasn't something that could be done in one go. The person who placed the bet took out his walkie-talkie and called the professional in the arena, asking him to handle the loan for Yuren. The person who placed the bet continued to collect the bets from the others. What made Yuren regretful was that although the loan was done, the second match had already begun. They weren't accepting bets anymore, which meant that he could only place his bet on the last match. He regretted not borrowing money earlier, he'd lost a chance to make a fortune. Why was Yuren so sure that he'd make a fortune this time? The reason was simple, the match had only been going on for 5 minutes, and it was already a one-sided situation. Red Dragon was beating Jianghu up, and Jianghu didn't even have the strength to fight back. It didn't take long before he was covered in wounds. Although Jianghu was trying his best to fight back, the effect was very weak. He wasn't a match for Red Dragon at all, and after a while, his nose was bleeding and his body was covered in bruises. Go Red Dragon. The crowd cheered once more. These people had placed a lot of bets on Red Dragon. Red Dragon didn't disappoint them, suppressing his opponent this time. It was foreseeable that Jianghu would fall soon. Yuren regretted it, it was such a great opportunity, He didn't know if the Red Dragon would appear again in the third match. After all, if this went on, wouldn't the owner of the boxing arena lose his money? The Red Dragon should have been replaced in the third round, right? As expected, the Red Dragon won again. Cheers rang out from the stands again. Red Dragon's opponent's heart caved in and he died. This kind of thing could not be faked. Excited shouts rose and fell because the Red Dragon had brought another huge sum of wealth to everyone. This made everyone's blood boil. Many people had placed huge bets on this match. It could be said that this match had made these people unimaginable wealth. Just when everyone thought that the boss of the casino would be replaced, something unexpected happened. After the battle, the Red Dragon did not leave the arena. Instead, he continued to sit at the edge of the arena to rest. In other words, the Red Dragon would still appear in the third match. This made everyone excited again. Could it be that the Red Dragon was going to continue competing? Wouldn't that bring them another huge sum of wealth? Soon, the list of contestants for the third match was announced on the screen. It was still the Red Dragon and his opponent was still a newbie, Black Cat. In the audience seats, the people were excited again. They were all making calls non-stop. Secretary Wang? You transfer all the company's money to my account. I'm going to play big. Yes, that's right, all of it. A bald boss took the phone and ordered his secretary. Manager's son? I'll use my company's building and all my real estate as collateral for a loan of 200 million. Yes. Don't you trust me? I'll get someone to send you the property certificate. Transfer the money to my account immediately. A middle-aged fat man who looked like a big boss also said to the other side of the phone. Dad, it's me. Transfer all the money in the house to me, quick, I have a big deal. A young master was also on the phone. Son, I'm your father, quickly withdraw the overseas investment and give it to me immediately, I want it now. What's that little penalty? I'm telling you, if you give me the money now, after tonight, I'll be on the rich list. Another boss was raising funds. Brotherly? I'm Scarface, lend me 500 million. This was an underworld boss who was in a gambling frenzy. He was borrowing money through the underground money house. There were countless people who were making calls like this in the field. They all realized that this was the biggest opportunity of their lives. The Red Dragon was actually going to compete again. They knew that this was probably the last time the Red Dragon would compete. The boss of the boxing arena would definitely not let him compete again tomorrow. This kind of ever-victorious general would be losing money if he were to compete again. Of course, the people present were not worried that the boxing arena would arrange for the Red Dragon to fake the third match, because it would be obvious at a glance. The boss of the boxing arena would definitely not do something that would arouse public anger, unless he colluded with the Red Dragon and let the Red Dragon be killed. But that was impossible. No matter how much they gave him, the Red Dragon wouldn't choose to cooperate with the boxing arena and get killed. What was the point of asking for benefits when he was dead? What's more, a fighter like the Red Dragon was a pillar in any underground boxing arena. Yurin didn't want to bet 500,000 in one go, because if he lost, he wouldn't be able to pay it back. But the people around him were raising money like crazy, and the young man was putting all of his money into the bet as well, more than 1,500,000 in total. The butcher also put down 600,000 yuan. Yuren's eyes turned red as he gritted his teeth and bet all of the 500,000. Yuren thought that since everyone was so confident in betting all of their money, then naturally it wouldn't go wrong. However, the third match was beyond everyone's expectations. Red Dragon was indeed strong, and in the third match he was still as brave as ever, but his opponent didn't seem weak either. He wasn't like the previous two opponents who were defeated so quickly. Chapter 1063. Chapter 1061, Complete Defeat. Although they weren't very confident, they weren't too worried after yesterday's experience. But Yuren was a little worried. He turned to the meat seller. Why didn't Red Dragon defeat his opponent this time? Why does it seem like they're evenly matched? It's fine, it was the same yesterday. It's the last round after all. We need to find a strong opponent, otherwise it wouldn't be exciting. The meat seller said casually. Oh. Yuren nodded, but he was still a little worried. But the result of the third round was out of everyone's expectations. The situation on the stage changed drastically. Red Dragon took a few heavy punches from Black Cat, and his eyes started to see stars. Ah! Cries of surprise came from the audience. They could never have imagined that the Crimson Dragon, who had always been invincible, would be beaten by the Black Cat. Go Red Dragon! Go Red Dragon! Red Dragon, hold on! Many people in the audience began to go crazy. They couldn't believe that Red Dragon would lose. After all, Red Dragon took a few punches last night, but he still managed to turn the situation around. But today was different. No matter how strong young Malin was, he was still a gangster. Facing a golden-class physical practitioner like Red Dragon, there was nothing he could do. But now he was facing a mystic mid-phase physical practitioner. Fighter Lee wanted to kill Red Dragon, and that was a matter of minutes. In front of him, Red Dragon was just a one-hit deal. But Fighter Lee didn't kill Red Dragon in one move. That would be too shocking and it would raise suspicions. He purposely suppressed his strength, making it seem like he was on par with Red Dragon, and the two of them were indeed on par. Fighter Lee took a step-by-step approach, attacking the Red Dragon bit by bit. Red Dragon seemed to have realized that his opponent this time wasn't normal, but he wasn't a golden class yet, so he wasn't considered a real practitioner yet. He wasn't too sure of Fighter Lee's strength, especially when Fighter Lee was suppressing him. He thought that Fighter Lee was on par with him. Although the Crimson Dragon had suffered a loss before, he attributed it to his carelessness. After adjusting his state, he punched the Black Cat. Bang! Red Dragon's fist collided with Fighter Lee's, but there was a "Kacha" sound. The Red Dragon wailed. His arm drooped down. His right arm was crippled. Fighter Lee laughed coldly in his heart. What a fool. With this level of skill he still dared to show off in front of him? If it weren't for the fact that he didn't want the audience to suspect him, the Red Dragon would already be a dead man. Seeing that the Red Dragon seemed to be at a disadvantage again, the audience began to worry. Although they did not know that one of the Crimson Dragon's arms had been crippled, they still had high hopes that the Crimson Dragon could turn the situation around. Rise, Red Dragon. Kill him. Kill the Black Cat. Red Dragon, you can do it. Invincible Red Dragon, kill that Black Cat bastard. The audience went crazy and cheered for the Crimson Dragon. They couldn't wait to beat the Black Cat up for the Crimson Dragon. After all, they had placed a huge bet on the Red Dragon. If the Red Dragon lost, they would go bankrupt. The sweat on Yu Ren's forehead was getting thicker and thicker. He never would have thought that the invincible Red Dragon would be so weak all of a sudden. It didn't seem like he was a match for the Black Cat now. Please don't lose, please don't lose. Yu Ren prayed silently in his heart, but the situation on the stage was not looking good. Jianghu looked at the scene through the screen, very pleased with himself as he sipped on the red wine in his hand. Fighter Lee's not bad, huh? You know how to act. That's right, congratulations Master Jianghu. This match will bring Master Jianghu more than 5 billion. Scorpion was starting to admire Jianghu now. This guy really knew how to make money. That's right, don't you know who I am? I specialize in this kind of business. Jianghu humphed, pleased with himself. He was now a famous person in the Firewolves, and his reputation had surpassed his big brother, Njenda. He was one of the pillars of the Firewolves. That's right, it's my honor to work with you, Master Jianghu. The professor started kissing Jianghu's ass as well. It couldn't be helped. In this day and age, whoever could make money for the gang was the boss. Even the professor's biochemical research couldn't be done without Jianghu's support. Jianghu was the bravest person the professor had ever seen, grabbing people on the streets and doing experiments on them. This was something even the Firewolves didn't dare do. Sooner or later, something big was going to happen. But since Scorpion was the scapegoat, the professor didn't care. The arena's income had far exceeded his expectations. The goal the Firewolves gave Jianghu was to use this arena to make 1 billion in black gold within a year. But it hadn't even been a month, and Jianghu had already exceeded the goal. Just one night he had at least 5 billion. And this wasn't even done with the statistics yet. It wouldn't just be 5 billion when the statistics came out. Finally, Red Dragon was sent flying by Black Cat's heavy punches. His chest had completely caved in, forming a terrifying shape. In such a situation, it was simply impossible for a person to still be alive. The stands were completely silent. The audience was stunned. They didn't expect Red Dragon, whom they had high hopes for, to lose like this. This time they didn't yell for Red Dragon to stand up, because it was impossible for him to do so. Red Dragon's ribs were shattered, and his entire body was flattened. How was he supposed to get up? They couldn't believe the reality in front of them, but they had to accept this result because Black Cat had already raised his hands, and the crowd was counting down. Black Cat won. After a moment of silence, the sound of wailing and cursing resounded from the spectators' stand. Almost everyone had bet on the Red Dragon's victory. Under such circumstances, no one had bet on the Black Cat, so they all lost. In an instant they had gone from being awesome bosses to penniless people who were in debt. Some were beating their chests, some were crying, some wanted to commit suicide. Chapter 1064. Chapter 1062. Excited Xiao Xiao. Just when Yu Ren was at a loss of what to do and didn't know what to do, someone found him and brought him to an office backstage of the boxing arena. In front of everyone. You Rin, you borrowed 500,000 from the arena, when are you going to pay it back? Scorpion asked with a cold face. He was ordered by young master Wen to settle this matter as soon as possible. It could be considered as a reward for fighter Li's victory tonight. Yu Rin was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that the opponent would come to him right after the match ended. But 500,000 to Yu Rin was something he couldn't possibly take out. That was 500,000. To Yu Rin it was a huge amount of money. This 500,000? Didn't your arena take it back as well? Why don't we just forget about it? It's my first time here, I don't know the rules. Yu Rin said carefully. Scorpion heard Yu Ren's words and laughed arrogantly. Ha! I say, old man Yu Ren, are you stupid? It's true that the money was taken back by our boxing arena, but you lost the bet. If you won, would you not want the money? Yu Ren was speechless. He was right, he lost the bet, but if he won, would he not want the money? Yu Ren, I've done my research on you. Just take out 500,000 and we'll be fine. Scorpion smiled coldly. If not, don't blame us for what we're going to do. We, the arena, are very trustworthy, we always keep our word. Don't think that you'll get lucky, I'll give you 5 days to collect the money. If you don't pay me back in 5 days, I'll send people to capture your entire family to fight in the arena. Capture his entire family to fight in the arena? Yu Ren's heart skipped a beat when he heard Scorpion's words. You want me to fight in the arena? Yu Ren jumped in fright. His skinny body, how could he fight in the arena? Wouldn't he be killed in a few moves? Not you, your entire family. Your entire family will be sent to the arena. Little Scorpion laughed cruelly. Yu Ren heard Scorpion's threat, and he almost fainted on the ground. He was scared, he was really scared. Scorpion wasn't the same as the other gangsters. Yu Ren had a stall in the market, and while he would occasionally get blackmailed, these gangsters knew their limits. They might cause trouble for him and stop his business, but they wouldn't dare commit murder or arson. But Scorpion was different. Yu Ren saw with his own eyes that he had killed 3 people in 3 matches. These were human lives. Yu Ren believed that there was nothing this young man wouldn't dare to do. What you're doing is illegal. Yu Ren gritted his teeth. Quack. Breaking the law? Scorpion laughed madly. You can call the police, but you need to think about the consequences. We are a criminal organization, not a small gang. Now that you've called the police, you can just wait to die. As for your wife and daughter, I'll help you sell them to a brothel in the south and have them fucked to death, Kaka. Yu Ren shivered from head to toe. The young man in front of him was simply a demon. The consequences he was talking about were even scarier than death. Thinking about his wife and daughter being humiliated like this, Yu Ren was scared out of his wits and quickly gave up on the idea of calling the police. At this moment, a lackey dragged the Red Dragon's body to Scorpion's office. Scorpion bro, what do we do with this dead man? See if there are any good organs, cut them off and sell them. Throw the rest into the crocodile pond. Scorpion looked at the motionless Red Dragon and waved his hand. Yes, Scorpion bro. The lackey dragged the body out of the room and followed Scorpion's instructions. Yu Ren's scalp went numb. Weren't these people too cruel? They were already dead and they still wanted to cut off their organs to sell? That was too evil. However, this only made Yu Ren even more fearful. These people were really capable of doing anything. In fact, this scene was purposely arranged by Scorpion to scare Yu Ren. Otherwise, if people died every day and he had to ask for instructions every time someone died, wouldn't Scorpion die from exhaustion? Yu Ren, 5 days, do you hear me? If you can't get the money in 5 days, you'll have to fight in the ring. Scorpion waved his hand impatiently. You can scram now, don't even think about running away, I'll arrange for people to monitor your house. Yu Ren's body shivered, he did think about running away. He couldn't afford to mess with them, but he could hide. He thought about giving up the grocery store here and bringing his wife and kids away from Songshan, hiding outside and starting a new business. However, this idea could not be realized now. Yu Ren sighed, he could only go home and think of a way. He really regretted it, he shouldn't have listened to the meat seller and come to watch some underground fighting tournament, he shouldn't have been tempted by that unrealistic pie in the sky. Yu Ren stumbled out of the arena, and Scorpion looked at his back, a cold smile on his face. It was Friday in the blink of an eye, and Linny had been driving Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao to and fro these days, getting used to this lifestyle. Xie Yufeng seemed to have calmed down quite a bit. After getting beaten up by Wu Qintian, he became a lot more low-key. He didn't do anything and Linny didn't bother with him. Pinliang looked at the bruised and swollen Xie Yufeng, a cold smile on his face. What an idiot, he didn't even know his opponent's level, and he kept jumping up and down. Now he was at a disadvantage, wasn't he? Pin Liang was now a cunning man, and he didn't show it on the surface, but he had been observing the conflict between Xie Yufeng and Lin Yi. Liang bro, that Xie Yufeng looks like he's done for? Has he calmed down? Xiaofu had been paying attention to Xie Yufeng as well. Just an idiot, ignore him. Pin Liang felt that someone like Xie Yufeng wasn't on the same level as him anymore. Pin Liang's next step would be a high-leveled fight, and he wouldn't use some middle school level moves anymore. Xiao Xiao was very excited and happy today, because Lin Yi had promised to take her to a race tonight. So, during class she was in a state of excitement, her face flushed red, and she cheered from time to time, making Lin Yi a bit restless. Chapter 1065. Underground Racetrack. One reason was that they spent most of their time in school, and Lin Yi couldn't do anything that would offend people's morals in class. Plus, Tang Yun was there in the car, and Lin Yi couldn't get close to Xiao Xiao alone. Plus, Lin Yi didn't want to go any further with Xiao Xiao. It wouldn't be fair to Tang Yun. As far as Lin Yi was concerned, his first girl had to be Tang Yun. She was his first girlfriend after all. Tang Yun was a big part of Lin Yi's heart. Of course, if Tang Yun wanted to have a threesome with Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi wouldn't mind. He wasn't a conservative person, and a conservative mindset wouldn't allow him to be an assassin. Xiao Xiao, what are you doing? Lin Yi had to remind Xiao Xiao that they were in class. Nothing, I just wanted to be night faster. I'm looking forward to it. Xiao Xiao always wished for time to be slower, since she didn't have much time left. But today she wished for time to be faster. Have you contacted the racetrack? Lin Yi asked. Lin Yi could contact the racetrack through Zhou Ruoming, but he wasn't as familiar with it as Xiao Xiao. Under normal circumstances, Lin Yi didn't want to go to Zhou Ruoming. I've contacted them. I signed up a long time ago. I've paid the deposit. Xiao Xiao said. Tonight, the first race is ours. Chem? You paid the deposit? Lin Yi blinked. Isn't it 200,000 per race? You have that much money? Lin Yi knew about Xiao Xiao's family situation, so he was curious about the deposit. Although Lin Yi was confident in winning, the organizers didn't know if he could win or not. That was why they made everyone pay a deposit of 200,000. If he won, it would be refunded, and if he lost, it would be kept. Don't forget, I just got 5 million from that idiot Iron Fist Wu. Xiao Xiao said proudly. Only then did Lin Yi remember that Xiao Xiao already had a huge amount of money. The race was at 6 at night, and it was the last self-study period in school. Naturally, they wouldn't be able to attend. Lin Yi told Tang Yun, the miss, and Yushu that he was going to keep Xiao Xiao company at night before leaving the school with Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao had packed her bag a long time ago, as if she was waiting for this moment to come to school. Where are we going now? In the car, Lin Yi asked Feng Xiao Xiao. Go to Mount Belong's Coiling Mountain Road, it's a paradise for underground racers. Xiao Xiao said. Do you know the location? I'm not sure. Lin Yi shook his head. You should drive it. Lin Yi got off the car and gave Xiao Xiao the driver's seat. Today Lin Yi was driving Xiao Xiao's Audi TT. He'd switched cars in the morning at Xiao Xiao's house. Xiao Xiao didn't reject it. She was very familiar with the road from here to Mount Bolong. But she'd only gone to watch races before, she'd never participated in one. Xiao Xiao thought that racing was exciting, but she knew where she stood. She'd lose for sure if she went on stage, and Xiao Xiao didn't have that much money to spend. Mount Bolong was a small tourist attraction near Songshan, and because it couldn't make ends meet, it had stopped operating a few years ago. There was no other reason, it was because there were too many mountains near Songshan City. The newly developed Shuangyan Mountain was even more beautiful than Bolong Mountain. The resorts inside were also newly built, and the accommodation and dining environment were also good. Naturally, no one went to Bolong Mountain anymore, and the tourist attraction of Bolong Mountain was forced to close. Although the attraction was closed, the mountain road was still there. It wasn't in repair and some of the fences were gone. The road wasn't in good condition either. But this road didn't have any other use other than going to the top of Mount Bolong, and all the businesses here had left. Who would spend money to repair the road? Xiao Xiao's car drove to the empty space at the foot of Mount Bolong. There were all kinds of cars parked here and the cars were all different. From the cheapest Alto to the best of the world's famous sports cars, there was everything. Beside the cars in the open space, there were also small groups of people chatting, drinking, and flirting with girls. Most of them were dressed in weird clothes with weird hair just like the old Xiao Xiao. Lin Yi couldn't help but frown at the sight of these non-mainstream people. To be honest, he didn't have much of a good impression of these crazy guys and gals. How could they face their parents if they didn't study properly and came out to race? But then again, a lot of these people were spoiled by their families. If their parents didn't give them money, how would they buy a car? Of course, in addition to these non-mainstream men and women, there were also some middle-aged men who were obviously gangsters. They had shaved heads and crew cuts, wore hurdle vests and had tattoos all over their arms. They looked like gangsters. Birds of a feather flocked together, and there was a small group of people who drove sports cars. They were all well-dressed celebrities. There were white-collared workers from big companies as well as real rich kids. These people were here for excitement, without a doubt. Xiao Xiao's car wasn't the worst here, but it wasn't a good car either. So, when she came to the empty space, she didn't attract much attention. Only the non-mainstream people who recognized Xiao Xiao's car came over. "Feng sis, you're here." The one who spoke was the non-mainstream young man who took a picture of Lin Yi on the business street. "Yeah." Xiao Xiao nodded. "Is everything arranged?" "Yes, Sister Feng. I've already discussed it with Brother Pit. You'll be the first to fight," the trendy young man said. Pit Bro was the organizer of this underground race, and it was said that he had some underworld background. He was a big shot in Songshan. Of course, this was all trash to Lin Yi. He could even beat up people like Zihua if he wanted to, let alone Pit Bro, who only had a bit of background in the underworld. It was just that Lin Yi didn't want to talk to him. 200,000 was a small number to Lin Yi, and Lin Yi didn't want to look for that Pit Bro to break the rules. "Who's my opponent?" Xiao Xiao nodded. With her sunglasses on, she looked like a big sister, and Lin Yi found it funny. Chapter 1066. Chapter 1064, Suspicious Opponent. I know. Xiao Xiao didn't mind, however. It was better if she was a newbie. She didn't have much of a chance of winning against a famous racer after all. This was also for the sake of fairness. The organizers of the underground race would usually arrange for competitors who were on par with each other to compete together. If the difference in strength between the two sides was too great, then the competition would be one-sided, and there would be no meaning to it. The people watching the competition wouldn't have any passion. The last class ended at 4 and Xiao Xiao drove here at 5 as well. There were only 20 minutes left until the match started at 6. The music in the field started. The match was about to begin. For the first race, contestants TT000 and 2B941, please get ready. The announcer's voice came from the sound system. This was a necessary procedure before the race, so please prepare yourselves. 2B941. You're an idiot? Xiao Xiao was pissed off at the number. Wasn't that a car number for insulting people? She was an idiot just because she was competing with him? Lin Yi smiled and shrugged. It's just a car number, what's there to care about? Let's go, it's our turn. You're driving? Xiao Xiao nodded to Lin Yi. It was only then that the young man noticed Lin Yi getting out of the Audi TT. He pointed at Lin Yi, his eyes wide. Aren't you that expert driver? Ah. Lin Yi nodded at him. That's right, he's my husband now. Xiao Xiao looked at the young man's shocked face and held onto Lin Yi's arm, pleased with herself. Feng sis, you're amazing. If he were to race today, wouldn't he win for sure? The young man said respectfully. That's for sure. Xiao Xiao nodded and got back in the car. Lin Yi followed Xiao Xiao's instructions and stopped the car at the intersection of the mountain road. The crowd didn't pay too much attention to Xiao Xiao's Audi TT, since the first race was a newbie race. The car wouldn't be too good, and Xiao Xiao's car hadn't been modified, so it probably wouldn't be that good. As for the car 2B941, it had yet to arrive. He did not know what car it was. But Lin Yi was driving a car, so he was a new face while Xiao Xiao was a familiar face. The crowd started making a ruckus, thinking that Lin Yi was a rich guy that Xiao Xiao had hooked up with. At about 5:50 a.m., a Land Rover Discovery 4 arrived late, and his photo was taken by 2B941. Although the size of the Land Rover was relatively large, the driving skills of the driver could not be underestimated. The speed was jaw-dropping. With a drift, the Land Rover reached the starting point of the mountain crossing. But the drift was too violent, and it only stopped when it was 1 or 2 centimeters away from Xiao Xiao's Audi TT. Xiao Xiao shrieked, sweating profusely. Xiao Xiao was sitting in the front passenger seat, and the Rover's drift almost hit her. She was very scared. Xiao Xiao was pissed off. How could this guy drive like that? She rolled down the window and glared at the driver. Do you even know how to drive? Why are you so close to me? Hey girl, you're quite the shrew. A bald man with sunglasses stuck his head out from the driver's seat as well, smiling at Xiao Xiao. Girl, get in my car? I'll take you for a ride? Fuck off. Xiao Xiao glared at the baldy, pissed off. This baldy's driving skills were clearly not bad, and Xiao Xiao had no chance of winning if she were to race him. They had agreed that Xiao Xiao would be driving and Lin Yi would be helping her, but looking at the baldy's attitude, Xiao Xiao knew that she was no match for him. She gave up on the idea and turned to Linny. Linny honey, you should drive later. This Baldy seems to be pretty good. Hey girl, how do you know I'm good? Haven't you tried? Why don't you come with me tonight? I promise I'll make you wish you were dead. The Baldy said pervertedly as he looked at Xiao Xiao. It's fine, I'll carry you and drive. Linny smiled at Xiao Xiao. Carry me and drive. Xiao Xiao's eyes went wide as she looked at Linny. She couldn't believe it. Racing was a dangerous thing to do, and this guy was carrying her in his arms while driving? What kind of danger was that? Was Linny just trying to make her happy? But even if Linny was just trying to make her happy, Xiao Xiao's heart was filled with happiness and sweetness. Linny was willing to put himself in danger just to make her happy. This touched her to the core. It's fine. It's too dangerous. Xiao Xiao shook her head. What if the car crashes and we die? It's not dangerous. Linny shook his head nonchalantly. I haven't even had a threesome with you yet, how could I die? Xiao Xiao was usually very bold and she often said things that shocked the world, but Lin Yi's words made her a little embarrassed. Her face reddened as she said shyly, Really? It's not dangerous? Trust me. With that, Lin Yi got off the car and walked to Xiao Xiao's side. The Rover was parked a little too close and Xiao Xiao couldn't even open the door. Lin Yi frowned and knocked on the Rover's window, impatient. Move the car to the side, don't block the road. Who the hell are you, pretty boy? The Baldy was evidently pissed off at Lin Yi for getting off the car all of a sudden. He glared at Lin Yi and ignored Lin Yi's request. I told you to move the car, didn't you hear me? Lin Yi didn't want to argue with him, but this guy's stubbornness made Lin Yi impatient. The Baldy closed the window, looking like a dead pig not afraid of boiling water. He didn't care about Lin Yi at all. Fuck him up, fuck him up. The surrounding youths started yelling. These kinds of heated scenes were what they loved the most. It was common for racing to cause bloodshed, but it was rare for a fight to happen before the race even started. Wawa beat him up. Someone else started yelling. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't care about the shouts. The Baldy didn't move, so Lin Yi raised his leg and kicked at the Rover. 2 thuds sounded, and the front of the Rover tilted from Lin Yi's kick. 2 huge dents appeared on the front of the car. Chapter 1067. A strong way. They'd seen a lot of strong people, but not as strong as Lin Yi. The guy didn't even move his car and he just kicked it away. The Baldy's eyes darkened as well. He didn't think that Lin Yi was this strong, and he seemed to be a master too. A dark look flashed across his eyes, but with the sunglasses, no one could see the change in his expression. Seeing Lin Yi kick his car away, the Baldy didn't continue cursing, nor did he get out of the car. He fell into deep thought. Could this guy be Xiao Xiao's bodyguard? The situation was getting complicated. The surrounding men and women saw that the bald-headed sunglasses man was kicked out of the car by Yang Ming, but he didn't make any reaction. He still stayed in the car and didn't move. They immediately sneered. This was a naked provocation. His car was kicked and he didn't even dare to make a sound. Was he even a man? Coward. You're too weak. That's all you got and you're still acting? Where's your courage? Weren't you calling him a pretty boy? Do you dare say that again? That's right, who's a pretty boy? That's called manliness and hands. Don't be fooled by your big bald head. You look fierce but it's useless. You're the soft pretty boy. You're the idiot. Faced with the curses of the onlookers, the bald-headed sunglasses man was about to explode, but he still endured it. This wasn't the time to get angry. This was a rare opportunity, and he couldn't ruin this match because of his anger. Lin Yi looked at the Baldy in the car and a faint smile appeared on his face. The Baldy's weird behavior was starting to make Lin Yi suspicious. He kicked his car and he didn't react at all. This wasn't how a normal person would behave. Plus, this didn't match the Baldy's arrogant personality. Lin Yi's suspicions troubled the Baldy as well. He could see Lin Yi's suspicions, but there was nothing he could do. Previously, in order to make himself look more like a hooligan who came here to race, he used some of the methods and tone that hooligans often use to flirt with girls. This was also to make himself blend into this group. But he didn't think that the man next to Xiao Xiao would be this cocky, kicking his car just because of a few words. He was a violent maniac from head to toe, and the Baldy was puzzled. Where did Xiao Xiao find this guy? Why was he so violent? But it was too late for regrets now. The Baldy didn't want to get into a conflict with Lin Yi right now. If the two were to fight before the race started, it would affect the race later. If the organizers decided to cancel the race or split the two up, that wasn't something the Baldy wanted to see. It hadn't been easy for him to wait for this opportunity. Xiao Xiao had finally bumped into his strong point, and he didn't want to give up just like that. It didn't matter if people suspected him or scolded him now, as long as it didn't affect the race and he achieved his goal. Luckily Linny looked at him and saw that he wasn't getting out. He ignored him and opened Xiao Xiao's door, letting her out. Xiao Xiao frowned as she looked at the rover beside her. The rover's engine capacity was double that of her Audi TT. Wasn't she just going to lose if she raced with a car like that? This part of the road had been abandoned for a long time too, and the rover had the advantage. The Audi TT, on the other hand, was clearly at a disadvantage. Linny honey, maybe we should ask for a change of match? His car. Xiao Xiao said worriedly as she looked at the Baldy's rover. It's fine. Linny waved his hand faintly. Normally, Linny would have listened to Xiao Xiao's suggestion, but now Linny felt that there was something wrong with this Baldy. Naturally he wanted to see what his goal was. Linny adjusted the driver's seat so that two people could sit in it. Linny got in first before turning to Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao, get in. Xiao Xiao saw how confident Linny was, so she got in without hesitation. This meant that Linny was driving with Xiao Xiao in his arms. After all, this was a very dangerous move. Even if it wasn't a car, it was a very dangerous move on normal roads, and Linny just had to use it on an even more dangerous car. Oh, the surrounding men and women exclaimed in surprise. They'd seen some difficult moves before, like the guy driving while the girl next to him helped him hit the plane. But that was child's play compared to what Linny was doing. Hugging each other with 4 arms and 4 legs like this. One slight misstep and the car would crash. The spectators naturally liked exciting moves, and they all cheered excitedly at Lin Yi's bravery. The bald-headed sunglasses man in the Land Rover naturally saw this scene, and a strange look flashed across his eyes. He never would have thought that Linny would do something this dangerous, but this was good. It saved him a lot of energy. This way Xiao Xiao's car would go out of control even more easily. But how Linny was going to race and whether or not he was going to lose his life wasn't something the spectators cared about. Lin Yi's death had nothing to do with them. There had been a lot of car crashes and deaths in the past year, but even if someone died, no one would break the rules and spread the news. Silence, the race is about to begin. The organizer's voice came from the speakers in the square, and a man who looked like a judge walked over with a flag, standing not far from the Audi TT and the rover. He'll wave the flag later and we can run, Xiao Xiao explained to Lin Yi. How do we do it? I'll be in charge of the accelerator and brake, and I'll hold your hand to control the steering wheel. Lin Yi said. Alright, no problem. Xiao Xiao nodded excitedly. In fact, this wasn't much different from Lin Yi doing it himself, it was just a little more dangerous. But Lin Yi wanted Xiao Xiao to experience the speed of a racer, and that was why he did this. Chapter 1068. Chapter 1066, A plot against Xiao Xiao, don't move. Xiao Xiao in his arms gave Lin Yi a physiological reaction, and Lin Yi frowned, a bitter smile on his face. Xiao Xiao blinked and felt something hard pressing against her butt. She immediately understood why Lin Yi didn't let her move. Xiao Xiao's cheeks reddened, but she was happy inside. Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi had become a couple, but it was more or less forcing Lin Yi to do it. If it weren't for Tang Yun's generosity in fulfilling that bet, Xiao Xiao wouldn't be in a relationship with Lin Yi right now. As a result, Xiao Xiao was always worried that Lin Yi didn't like her, but now it seemed like that worry was unnecessary. Lin Yi was quite interested in her. Why don't we try it in the car? Xiao Xiao suddenly said something very bold. What are you talking about? Do you want to die? Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Xiao Xiao's words. This Feng Xiao Xiao's idea was shocking enough. Even if Lin Yi was strong, he wouldn't dare do something like that. Wasn't that obviously courting death? I saw people do it when they were racing before. Xiao Xiao said, a little embarrassed. And then? Lin Yi asked. And then they all died. Xiao Xiao said awkwardly. You still want to try it after dying? Lin Yi glared at Xiao Xiao. I was thinking that you're stronger, aren't you a mystic? I heard you have qi protecting your body. Xiao Xiao stuck her tongue out. Who would have the energy to care about qi then? Lin Yi shook his head. Focus on racing. If you're going to race, enjoy the excitement and speed it brings. Don't think about anything else. All right. Xiao Xiao thought about it and agreed that it was better to do that at home. She could enjoy the fun of racing here. Wasn't this her dream? After Xiao Xiao's tantrum, the fire in Lin Yi's heart calmed down. He started the car, his left hand on Xiao Xiao's hand on the steering wheel, and his right hand wrapped around her body. I'll tell you to steer the rudder later, just listen to me. Okay. Xiao Xiao nodded. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The sound of the countdown came from the speakers. At the same time the number 1 was shouted, the referee also waved the small flag in his hand. The Audi TT and the Land Rover shot forward at the same time like a sharp sword. However, the Audi TT was clearly lagging behind the Land Rover on the straight road before the winding mountain road. After a few hundred meters, the gap between the two cars slowly widened. The Land Rover was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, it had surpassed the Audi TT by a lot. What's so great about having a good car? Xiao Xiao gritted her teeth as she gripped the steering wheel, but there was nothing she could do. What could she do? Her car wasn't as good as his. Ha! Lin Yi hugged Xiao Xiao's right hand and patted her, telling her to calm down, but because of her agitation, Lin Yi accidentally patted Xiao Xiao's chest. Lin Yi felt a little awkward. It really wasn't on purpose. But Xiao Xiao didn't seem to mind at all. She kept yelling, "Drive, drive! Speed up, speed up!" Lin Yi smiled, not minding it at all. Don't worry, his car's bigger. His disadvantage will show when we get on the mountain road. The mountain road wasn't easy to drive on, and the Land Rover had a slight advantage. On roads like this, an off-road car was way better than a sports car. But at the same time, the road was bumpy and there were sharp turns everywhere. The advantage of a small car was fully displayed here. The Land Rover had a big engine, but not stepping on the brakes on roads like this was suicide. And so, Lin Yi wasn't worried about the Land Rover taking the lead. The Land Rover was in the lead, but it wasn't easy. The Baldy drove as he looked at the Audi TT behind him. He didn't want to put too much distance between him and Lin Yi, so he didn't push the car to the max. Otherwise, he could have pushed the car to 300 in the 2-kilometer buffer. Ring ring ring, a cell phone rang, and the bald-headed sunglasses man picked up the phone. Hello. The bald-headed man in sunglasses answered the call while driving. His expression was extremely calm. It could be seen that he didn't seem to care about this kind of competition. Third brother, why do I see a man in that phone girl's car? What's his job? A man's voice came from the phone. Second brother, that man seems to be the bodyguard Feng Tianlong hired for that phone girl. The Baldy said after a sigh. He seems to have some skills. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that he's phone girl's boyfriend. They seem to be pretty close. Oh, then let's get rid of them together. Third brother, are you confident? The man called second brother said after a sigh. Don't forget where I came from. I'm a retired F1 racer. The Baldy said faintly. I'm planning on getting rid of them as well. He's to blame for being with Feng Tianlong's daughter. I believe in your driving skills. I've already prepared a helicopter. It's on standby at the mountaintop. Once you get them, I'll send the helicopter to pick you up. The second brother said. Alright, we're on the curve. Let's not talk about this for now. I need to find a chance to get rid of them. The Baldy said. But now, I need to wait for these two short-lived bastards. If I knew they'd be using a small car like this, I'd have changed cars. The Baldy had seen Xiao Xiao's profile and knew that she usually drove an Audi TT, but he thought that she'd be driving a better car for a race, right? But the Baldy was wrong. Xiao Xiao was still in her own Audi TT. Just as Lin Yi said, the Rover slowed down noticeably after getting on the mountain road. Speeding up on a road like this was basically suicide, of course, except for masters. Of course, Lin Yi was a master in this area, but Lin Yi suspected that the Baldy was a master as well. If he wasn't, then that perfect drift before the race wasn't something a normal person could pull off. The distance and speed were perfectly controlled. Any more and he'd crash into Xiao Xiao's car, and any less and the front of the car wouldn't be able to turn properly. Chapter 1069. Lin Yi's suspicions. Lin Yi kicking the car was also Lin Yi's way of testing the Baldy. According to what Xiao Xiao and the young man said, the first race was usually prepared for newbies, but this Baldy was clearly not a newbie, he was a veteran. His silence, on the other hand, made Lin Yi even more suspicious. Most people would show some dissatisfaction after getting their car kicked, it was just a matter of how forceful they were. But the Baldy didn't even say a word, a complete change from his gangster image. He's slowing down, he's slowing down. He's slowing down. Xiao Xiao cried out in surprise. Ha! Lin Yi only smiled faintly as his suspicions deepened. Yet another anomaly. With the Baldy's driving skills, he shouldn't be slowing down here. This was only the first lap of the mountain road and it wasn't steep at all. Even a normal driver wouldn't have a problem with it, let alone a drifting master like the Baldy. But he just had to slow down at this moment. This was an obvious act and only Lin Yi would suspect it. Xiao Xiao was in a state of excitement, and it was hard for her to notice something like this. But what Lin Yi didn't understand was what this Baldy was trying to do. Was he trying to scam 200,000 out of Xiao Xiao? Or did he have some other goal? Lin Yi wouldn't believe it if he had some other goal. Bringing Xiao Xiao to this race was purely a coincidence, unless this person had been observing Xiao Xiao and him the entire time, waiting for a chance to make a move. It was just that many things that seemed like random happenings had been carefully planned out by the enemy, and Linny was always on his guard. It didn't matter if the Baldy had any ulterior motives or not, Linny was already on guard against him. Slow down, do what you want. A smile appeared on Lin Yi's face as he stepped on the gas. The Audi TT's engine roared, and Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao's car shot forward. They were about to reach the winding mountain road, but not only did Lin Yi not slow down, he even sped up. The group of spectators who were watching the match through binoculars all let out exclamations. Although there was no need to slow down when going up the winding road, he had never seen anyone speed up at this time. Wasn't he courting death? Xiao Xiao understood that as well. She used to watch other people race, but she'd run this path before when she was training. It was just that it wasn't like this, where they were chasing each other. She wasn't as nervous as she was now. But Xiao Xiao knew that they couldn't speed up when they were going up the winding roads. Everyone else was speeding up on the straight road, but Linny was speeding up on the winding road? What the hell was going on? Linny, honey, why did you speed up? Xiao Xiao said, startled. How can I overtake him if I don't speed up? Linny said faintly, not thinking that speeding up was something special at all. Lin Yi's car sped up a few more times, instantly overtaking the Land Rover in front of them. Linny was still speeding up after going up the winding road. There was a sharp curve in front of them, but Linny was still speeding up. Ah! Xiao Xiao screamed, but it wasn't a scream of fear, it was a scream of excitement. This was the first time she was speeding up at a sharp curve. It was extremely dangerous, but she trusted in Lin Yi. It was a blind trust. Of course, what Xiao Xiao was thinking was that even if she died, she'd die with Lin Yi. She'd have no regrets in this life. If they could still be lovers in the netherworld, she'd be so happy. Motherfucker, he's a lunatic. The bald-headed sunglasses man looked at the accelerating Audi TT and was shocked. This person was either a top-notch expert or a lunatic. Who drove like that? Speeding up at a sharp curve? He didn't know how to spell death, did he? But what happened next proved the Baldy's guess. Lin Yi was a master. The Audi TT didn't slow down at the sharp curve, instead going through the curve in one smooth motion. It wasn't any weaker than the Baldy's trick before the race. The Baldy's face froze. He didn't think that the person Xiao Xiao brought would be a master at racing. This was a little out of his expectations. Before, with the Baldy's strength, Xiao Xiao was nothing more than a weak prey in his eyes. Her life and death were in his hands. But now, things had exceeded his imaginations. Prey was no longer prey, and what was supposed to be a game of cat and mouse had turned into a dangerous fight. The Baldy's lips curled into a cold smirk. No matter how good your skills were, since you were driving an Audi TT, that meant you were going to lose. The Audi TT in front of the huge Land Rover was a little out of proportion. As long as the Baldy put on a fighting stance, the one who would suffer in the end would be Lin Yi's side. Seeing that the Audi TT was still accelerating, the Baldy accelerated as well. He had underestimated his opponent. He wanted to wait for his opponent, but now he was being overtaken. The Baldy in sunglasses also began to accelerate. At the same time, he didn't slow down at the sharp curve in the mountain, but continued to accelerate. The actions of the bald man in sunglasses shocked the men and women watching the match once again. They cheered and shouted. The first race that wasn't that eye-catching was now the most exciting fight. The audience kept calling their friends who weren't there, complaining that they didn't get to see the most exciting scene. Drifting, still drifting. The Baldy in sunglasses was also accelerating and drifting. This caused the distance between the two cars to shrink. Lin Yi frowned. It seemed that he had underestimated his opponent. Lin Yi wasn't a professional racer, but Lin Yi had undergone rigorous training. If he were to participate in a world-class race, he'd definitely be able to get a place. This kind of strength was enough to stand proudly in the underground racetracks. But the Baldy seemed to be an exception. It didn't take long for Lin Yi to realize that the Baldy's strength was on par with his. Only professional racers or assassins who had undergone rigorous training like him could have this kind of racing skill. A faint look of worry flashed across Lin Yi's eyes. If Xiao Xiao wasn't in the car, then Lin Yi could totally fight to the death with him, but now it was impossible to win with just pure strength. Chapter 1070. Death Trap. Lin Yi sighed softly as the Land Rover got closer and closer. It seemed like he had to give up on this race. Otherwise, the consequences would be dire. But even if Lin Yi wanted to give up, the Land Rover wouldn't let Lin Yi go. It was still accelerating, like a wild horse that had broken free from its reins, charging towards Lin Yi's back. Lin Yi, honey, he's catching up. What do we do? What do we do? Xiao Xiao jumped in fright at the sight of the Land Rover. Lin Yi frowned as he grabbed Xiao Xiao's hand and turned the steering wheel, pulling the Audi TT to the side of the mountain, opening up a path for the Rover. With the Land Rover's current speed, if Lin Yi didn't dodge, he'd be hit by the car for sure. He'd even crash into the mountain stream. This guy was driving with no regard for his life. Or perhaps he was planning on doing this. What's wrong? Xiao Xiao paused when she saw Lin Yi pull over, not understanding what Lin Yi meant. There's something wrong with the car behind us. I don't know if it's my enemy. Lin Yi's tone was calm even in the face of danger. Of course, Lin Yi thought that the Baldy's enemy was him, not Xiao Xiao. As far as he was concerned, he was the one dragging Xiao Xiao into this. After all the enemies in Songshan were coming for Lin Yi. Ah. Xiao Xiao paused and subconsciously gasped. She looked back just in time to see the Land Rover ramming into her car. Lin Yi naturally saw this from the rearview mirror as well. He floored the gas pedal, and the Audi TT shot forward once more. But even so, the back of the car was still rammed by the Land Rover. With a loud bang, Lin Yi knew that the back of the Audi TT was heavily damaged. It seemed like he was right. The Baldy's real goal wasn't to race but to kill him. Turn around and hold me tight. Don't let go. Lin Yi hurriedly ordered. Oh, okay. For some reason Xiao Xiao didn't feel any fear at all. There were bad guys chasing them, but she wasn't scared at all. It was like she was in a horror movie, and with Lin Yi here she felt more at ease. This was going to be a very rare experience in her life, going through a life and death situation with the person she loved. This was something that many couples dreamed of. And so, Xiao Xiao was a little thankful for the Baldy's help. Of course, that was if they made it through this dangerous situation. Xiao Xiao passed the steering wheel to Lin Yi and turned her body, turning from leaning on Lin Yi's chest to hugging him. Xiao Xiao's body was petite to begin with, so the space was limited, but it wasn't hard for her. The softness of her chest squeezed into Lin Yi's embrace, and it made Lin Yi's blood boil. Especially with Xiao Xiao riding on him, it was very similar to a legendary sport, and it made Lin Yi feel even more excited. Xiao Xiao was the same. She really wanted to do this. In her heart, since she had already decided on Lin Yi, it didn't matter if Lin Yi was good or bad. Her body's condition didn't allow her to hesitate and look left and right. Once she made up her mind, she had to do it right away. Otherwise, she might die before she could even enjoy the feeling of sex. Wouldn't that be a huge loss? Xiao Xiao had this mentality towards Lin Yi, and so she didn't care about being shy or anything. Once she made up her mind, she had to do it right away. Bang! The Rover rammed into them again. Lin Yi frowned. He couldn't do what he normally did in a situation like this. He couldn't drift when going through a curve either. What if he was drifting and the Rover rammed into him? That would be a disaster. So Lin Yi could only use normal measures when going through a curve, slowing down and turning. Even so, he almost lost control from the Rover. Ah! Xiao Xiao shrieked, panicking. Lin Yi, honey, what do we do? Although Lin Yi was driving, he was also thinking of a way to deal with the situation. If it weren't for Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi could just stop the car and cause trouble for the Rover. Mystic class masters weren't invulnerable to weapons, but a car like this was something they could handle with pure energy protecting their body. Lin Yi was confident that he could kick the Land Rover into the bottom of the ravine. But with Xiao Xiao here, Lin Yi couldn't just leave her in the car. It was too dangerous. If he jumped out with Xiao Xiao, then Lin Yi would have to channel his chi to Xiao Xiao first. As for attacking the Rover, that was impossible. Lin Yi was still thinking when the Land Rover rammed into him again with a bang. The enemy was obviously coming for him, and even if Lin Yi dodged, it wouldn't help. He might even have to hide in the ravine. Ah, my car. Xiao Xiao looked at the spiderweb-like damage on the windshield, feeling heartache. Her beloved car was ruined by this bastard? It was another sharp turn, but this one was even sharper than the one before. Lin Yi's heart sank as he looked at the Land Rover chasing after him. If he wasn't mistaken, his car was going to be rammed into by the Land Rover at this turn. Hold me and don't move. Lin Yi started channeling the art of dragon mastery. If Xiao Xiao got hurt in a situation like this, the consequences would be unimaginable, and so Lin Yi had to make sure that Xiao Xiao could absorb his chi in time to heal her. Lin Yi, on the other hand, made a bold decision. Xiao Xiao seemed to have realized the urgency of the situation as she hugged Lin Yi tightly like a sloth, almost sticking her body onto Lin Yi's. But Lin Yi, naturally, wasn't in the mood to enjoy the feeling of Xiao Xiao's soft body. After the turn, he slammed on the brakes, using the mountain wall to stop the car. The bald man had been waiting for this chance. Without a doubt, the turn in front was the best place to solve the problem. Seeing Lin Yi stop the car, a mocking smile appeared on the bald man's face. In a situation like this, stopping the car or not was a death sentence. Did he think that the weight of his car could withstand the impact? Chapter 1071. A heavy promise, but just as the Rover was about to crash into the Audi, Lin Yi let go of the brakes, and the Audi slid forward once more. This created an illusion for the Land Rover driver. The Baldy thought that Lin Yi's car hadn't moved at all, since the Audi's taillights had all been smashed by the Land Rover. In actuality, Lin Yi's car was sliding forward slowly towards the bottom of the mountain. It was just that it was too slow and the Baldy didn't notice it at all. All of this happened in the blink of an eye, and Lin Yi had only made a mistake. And so, when the Rover crashed into the Audi was almost going down the mountain. Lin Yi stepped on the gas and the Audi shot forward, going down the mountain. The Rover didn't seem to realize the danger, and he was still stepping on the gas, trying to ram Lin Yi's car down. In the end, the Audi TT flew down. By the time the Baldy realized that something was wrong, the two front wheels had already gone down the mountain road. It was too late for him to react, so his car also flew down the mountain road. Ah! Xiao Xiao screamed as the Audi fell down the mountain. After a couple of rolls, the airbags popped out, but if it weren't for Lin Yi's pure chi protecting Xiao Xiao, the two would have been dead for sure. The car was completely out of shape from all the rolling, and any safety measures wouldn't work anymore. The car was on fire too, and if they didn't jump out of the car soon, it'd be even more dangerous. Lin Yi ignored Xiao Xiao's screams and broke the airbag, kicking the door open, and jumped out with Xiao Xiao in his arms. Pho! Lin Yi patted Xiao Xiao's back, relieved. Alright Xiao Xiao, it's fine now. Ah! Xiao Xiao opened her eyes. She thought that she was going to die, and so she wasn't too clear-headed. Lin Yi, honey, are we dead? Not dead. Lin Yi smiled. I won't let you die. Really? Xiao Xiao paused before remembering her body. She felt a little sad. Lin Yi seemed to have noticed Xiao Xiao's sadness as well. He sighed softly and nodded. It's true. This was a heavy promise and Lin Yi felt like he was bragging, but Lin Yi really didn't want Feng Xiao Xiao to die. Unknowingly, he had fallen in love with this weird girl. If it was possible, Lin Yi wanted to spend the rest of his life with her, but it was just a beautiful illusion. Pinky promise. Xiao Xiao extended her hand as if trying to prove something. Lin Yi's heart grew heavier at Xiao Xiao's stubbornness. It seemed that Xiao Xiao was lying to herself, trying to use this method to fight against the unfairness of fate. Okay. Lin Yi extended his pinky, and Xiao Xiao on the other hand seemed a little happy. She only came back to her senses after a while. We didn't die. That was too exciting. Lin Yi, honey, you were amazing. That feeling was like bungee jumping, like it was a moment of life and death. Your car. Lin Yi pointed at the Audi TT that was on fire. Right, where did that Land Rover guy go? How despicable, how dare he crash my car like that? I'm going to dig his eyeballs out and stomp on them. Lin Yi, honey, come help me. Xiao Xiao was enraged at the sight of her car turning into a ball of fire. This was a car she'd spent years of pocket money on, and now it was destroyed just like that? Lin Yi sighed softly as he looked at the fallen Land Rover. The Baldy was lucky. The Land Rover had gone off the mountain path, but because of the Audi TT blocking it, it only landed on the mountain path, not out of the stream. Over there, I'll take you to him to pay for the car. Lin Yi pointed at a deformed Land Rover on the mountain path. The Baldy was in a difficult situation, so naturally he didn't see Lin Yi jump out with Xiao Xiao. When he stopped on the next level, the Baldy couldn't help but laugh out loud. Aha, the heavens really haven't forsaken me yet. That bastard's pretty cunning, trying to play mind games. You want to die with me? It won't be that easy. The Baldy got off the car and looked down at the exploded Audi TT. He was in a great mood. He took out his phone and quickly sent a video to a number. It was the video of the Audi TT being pushed down the stream, and the video of the Audi TT exploding. Not long after the text message was sent, an urgent phone call rang. As expected, the person who received the video called back immediately. Hello. The Baldy smiled coldly as he picked up the phone. Long phone? I'm sure you've received the video I sent you? Who are you? How's Xiao Xiao? Tianlong asked urgently. Long Feng was Tianlong's code name in the organization, and it seemed like the person knew him well enough. He waved his hand at his underling as he made the call, signaling him to check the location of the call. With the widespread use of AGPS, they could accurately pinpoint the location of the call through the connection between the phone number and the base station. After receiving the video, Tianlong called Xiao Xiao, but her phone was turned off. He called Lin Yi's number, but it was still turned off. In order to ensure that they wouldn't be disturbed during the competition, both of them turned off their phones temporarily. They didn't expect Tianlong to call at this time. In the video, his daughter's car was pushed down the stream and burned to ashes. Qianlong's heart tightened. Although his daughter didn't have much time left, he would do anything to let her live one more day. Qianlong's first reaction was that it was his enemy who did this. After all, to be able to send this video to Qianlong's phone, the identity of the person who sent the video must not be that simple. Who am I? Feng Tianlong, don't you know? Ha ha, my big brother died in your hands, and this time I'll let you have a taste of losing a family member, ha ha. The baldy laughed cruelly. How is it? The video is clear, right? One bang and your daughter is dead. This feels great. If you come over now you might still be able to see some ashes, but after a while, even the ashes will be gone. Chapter 1072. Weren't you dead? Long Feng, it looks like you're not stupid. Let me tell you, this is just a warning. If you and your organization continue to oppose us, Red Conscious, then don't blame us for retaliating even more severely. The bald man sneered as he warned. You're the second head in charge of Red Conscious, right? Qianlong's heart hurt, but his will wasn't something a normal person could compare to. So, while he was stalling for time with the baldy, he gestured for his men to go capture them. Li Feng had worked for Tianlong for many years and naturally understood what he meant. After he found the location of the baldy, he used his computer to send out orders to gather his men. I say, Feng Tianlong, you're trying to stall for time, right? So that you can catch me? The baldy wasn't stupid. He knew Qianlong's tricks like the back of his hand. Now that his daughter was dead, Tianlong could still talk to him calmly. Clearly there was something wrong. Feng Tianlong was seen through by the baldy and sneered, Second head in charge, listen carefully. If I don't uproot your organization, my name isn't Feng Tianlong. I'll fight you for the rest of my life. With his daughter dead, Tianlong had nothing to worry about. He had made up his mind to fight Red Conscious for the rest of his life. He wouldn't stop until he caught them all. Haha, then you can continue dreaming. I'm calling you with a normal phone, so naturally I have a backup plan. The baldy laughed. Did you hear that? It's the sound of a helicopter. I'm leaving, I've wasted my time. You dashed. Qianlong's expression froze. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. That's right, who was the second head in charge of Red Conscious? He was the second head in charge of an international criminal organization. How could he not have a backup plan? The helicopter lowered the ladder. The baldy sneered at the other side of the phone. Feng Tianlong, why don't you fly over? Do you really want to hit a helicopter right now? Haha, but you can't do it, la la la. The baldy wanted to anger Feng Tianlong to death. His big brother, the leader of Red Conscious, died in Feng Tianlong's hands. This was why he, the second in command of an organization, had to deal with Xiao Xiao himself. If he didn't kill Qianlong's family with his own hands, he wouldn't be satisfied. The hatred of killing my brother is absolutely irreconcilable. Although Tianlong was angry, he could only smile coldly. However, the next moment, something that shocked the baldy in sunglasses happened. Just as he was about to say a few more irritating words, he suddenly heard a loud noise. The helicopter that was originally hovering in the sky was like a kite with a broken string. With a whoosh, it fell into the ravine. Then there was another loud bang. The helicopter fell into the mountain stream and exploded. Huh. The bald man in sunglasses suddenly widened his eyes and pointed in the direction where the plane had fallen, speechless. Lin Yi had brought Xiao Xiao to where the baldy was a while ago, but Lin Yi didn't walk up rashly. He wanted to listen to what the baldy was calling so that he could figure out his intentions and background. But what Lin Yi didn't expect was that the baldy was calling Feng Tianlong. In other words, the target this time was Xiao Xiao, not Lin Yi. At the thought, Lin Yi felt lucky. If he wasn't racing with Xiao Xiao, who knew what kind of trouble would have happened? Luckily Xiao Xiao was with him now, completely fine. But after the baldy said a few words, a helicopter flew over from afar, evidently trying to pick him up. And so, Lin Yi picked up a guardrail from the side of the mountain and threw it at the helicopter's propeller. Of course, if a normal person threw it, they wouldn't be able to break the propeller even if they hit it. After all, the guardrail was nothing compared to the propeller. But Lin Yi added some compressed chi to the guardrail, and so the helicopter's propeller was destroyed by Lin Yi's energy bomb. Fuck. Lin Yi, honey, you really are a master at hitting planes. Xiao Xiao's eyes were wide open as she looked at Lin Yi with admiration. Lin Yi, honey, can you teach me how to hit planes? Fuck. Lin Yi sweated at Xiao Xiao's words. Wasn't her suggestion a little too evil? Xiao Xiao looked at the weird expression on Lin Yi's face and paused, but she quickly understood why Lin Yi was like this. Lin Yi clearly misunderstood her words. I'm talking about hitting planes, not that one. I know how to do that, you don't need to teach me, Xiao Xiao quickly explained. You know how to do it? Lin Yi's eyes were wide open. Had Xiao Xiao tried it before? Hee, there's a video online so I watched it for a while. I'm going to test it on my boyfriend in the future. Xiao Xiao was always more daring when she was with Lin Yi. You want to try? Alright, I'll test it when I get the chance. Right now, I need to get that baldy to pay for the car. Lin Yi almost couldn't resist the temptation. But in a place like this, wasn't being tempted the same as asking for death? What do you mean? Feng Tianlong heard the baldy's quack sound and asked, confused. But right now, the baldy wasn't in the mood to care about Tianlong's phone call anymore. He started yelling, Who? Who hit my plane? The next moment, Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao jumped up and stood in front of the baldy. Are you looking for me? Lin Yi asked with a smile as he looked at the baldy's exasperated face. You. The baldy was worried. The plane was gone, so how was he going to run? If he drove, he'd probably run into Tianlong's men the moment he got off the mountain. He didn't know what to do, but two people suddenly appeared in front of him, scaring him. But when the baldy saw the two people in front of him, it was as if he'd seen a ghost. He pointed at Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao, shocked. You guys. Aren't you guys dead? You're the one who's dead. Your whole family's dead. Xiao Xiao was a bit sensitive to the word dead, so she retorted as soon as the baldy opened his mouth. Chapter 1073. Chapter 1071. Hatred. You're the one who saved her? The baldy glanced at Lin Yi. As the second in command of an international criminal organization, naturally he had a few practitioners under his command. He wasn't a practitioner himself, but the third in command of the organization, his third brother, was a practitioner. Thinking back to how Lin Yi kicked the car and how the helicopter was shot down, the baldy was almost certain that Lin Yi was a practitioner as well. The baldy regretted underestimating Lin Yi. He didn't think that Xiao Xiao would have a practitioner bodyguard by her side. Was it Tianlong who sent him to protect her? Pay for the car and you won't die. Lin Yi didn't bother answering the baldy's question. The baldy paused. He didn't think that Lin Yi's first condition would be for him to pay for the car. What? You broke the car, hurry up and pay for it. Lin Yi said faintly. The baldy in sunglasses was holding his breath. From his perspective, Xiao Xiao was already a dead person, but now, not only was she not dead, but she was also asking him to pay for the car. Hello. Hello. Tianlong, on the other side of the phone, could tell that things had turned for the better. It seemed like Lin Yi's voice came from the other side, and it seemed like his daughter wasn't dead. From what the baldy said, it seemed like Lin Yi had saved her. So Feng Tianlong panicked. He kept calling, wanting to ask about the latest situation on the other side. What are you yelling for? Are you calling your mom? The baldy was furious. Tianlong was still on the other side of the phone. Hey. Stop bullshitting, are you going to pay for the car or not? You wrecked my wife's car, say something if you don't want to die. Lin Yi frowned. If it weren't for his suspicious background, Lin Yi would have kicked him to the bottom of the mountain a long time ago. Xiao Xiao heard Lin Yi say my wife's car, and she was overjoyed. Lin Yi had never called her that intimately before. She didn't think that Lin Yi would actually say the truth in a situation like this. Xiao Xiao's eyes narrowed into crescents. She didn't think that this baldy was that bad anymore. If it weren't for him, Lin Yi wouldn't call her wife, so she thought that this baldy was a good choice. If the Audi TT could talk, it'd probably be crying, scolding Xiao Xiao for being a pervert and abandoning her car after getting a man. She actually thought that the killer of her car was a good choice? Lin Yi, honey, this Rover of his looks a little damaged, but it seems like there's nothing wrong with the inside. Why don't we drive it away? I'll find a place to fix it and it'll look brand new. Xiao Xiao was drooling over the baldy's Rover. And so, she decided to take it for herself. Oh, that works too. Lin Yi thought about it and it wasn't too realistic to ask the baldy to pay for the car. He gave up on the idea. But Lin Yi wasn't going to let this guy go if he didn't pay for the car. He snatched the phone from the baldy and asked, Uncle Feng? It's me, Lin Yi, right? Tianlong's voice was very happy. He had heard his daughter's voice from the other side of the phone, and it seemed like she was fine. Tianlong breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time, he was also secretly happy. It sounded like Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao's relationship was pretty good. Lin Yi called Xiao Xiao his wife, and Xiao Xiao called Lin Yi her husband? Then he wouldn't be far from having a grandchild, right? Uncle Feng, this person seems to be coming for Xiao Xiao? You sent someone to take him away? Lin Yi said. Alright, my man Li Yifeng is already on his way. He's my driver, you've met him before, Tianlong said. Right, I shot down their helicopter just now. Get someone to clean it up. I think everyone on it died, Lin Yi said. Wah. Tianlong's eyes widened when he heard Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi shot down the helicopter? How did he do it? Lin Yi didn't have a gun with him, right? Even if he had a gun, could a normal gun shoot down a helicopter? What kind of joke was this? Ew. How did you do it? Tianlong was shocked. What did you use? The railing on the mountain road, Lin Yi said indifferently. This. Tianlong couldn't believe it, but he knew that Lin Yi wouldn't lie to him about this, so he could only believe Lin Yi's words. Now wasn't the time to doubt. He quickly said, Lin Yi, protect Xiao Xiao's safety, I'll be there soon. Okay, Lin Yi nodded. The Baldy and Shades hated Lin Yi even more now. The helicopter was shot down by Lin Yi? And he used the railing on the mountain road? Was he still human? Let me leave or else the red conches won't let you go. The Baldy and Shades knew of Lin Yi's strength and gave up on fighting Lin Yi head-on. He wanted to control Xiao Xiao and use her to threaten Lin Yi and Tianlong, but when he heard that Lin Yi shot down the helicopter with his bare hands, he gave up on that idea. That was the same as looking for death. In front of Lin Yi, he gave up on all his tricks and only used a threatening tone to negotiate with Lin Yi. Red conches? Lin Yi smiled in disdain, although I don't know what it is, but don't mess with me or else your whole family will be destroyed. The Baldy was fuming at Lin Yi's arrogance. The Red Conches was an international criminal organization, and they had a huge influence. Although you, Lin Yi, are practitioners, we have practitioners too. Frog in the well. But towards Lin Yi, the Baldy didn't have any temper. In his eyes, Lin Yi was like a tiger. Shooting down a helicopter with his bare hands wasn't something normal people would do. The Baldy admitted defeat and didn't put up any more resistance. He waited for Feng Qianlong's men to come and take him away. For him, being arrested was nothing. As the second-in-command of an international criminal organization, he had also been arrested by police all over the world. However, in the end he successfully escaped. Even if he did not escape, the local police were forced to release him due to the terrorist activities of the Red Conches organization. So he was confident that he could regain his freedom after falling into Qianlong's hands. Chapter 1074. Chapter 1072. Do you know my dad? At the foot of the mountain, the spectators didn't know what was going on. While they were still shocked that the Land Rover dared to charge recklessly and wanted to knock the Audi TT off the cliff, the two cars rushed out of the mountain road together. Just when they thought that the man and woman in the Audi TT would never come back, Lin Yi miraculously jumped out of the car and safely brought Xiao Xiao out of danger. When they saw a helicopter appear in the sky in disbelief, the next moment, the helicopter inexplicably fell into the mountain stream and exploded. No one at the foot of the mountain saw that it was Lin Yi who shot the helicopter down. After all, it was too far away and Lin Yi's movements were too fast. What was going on? Was this a foreign action movie? Everything in front of them was something they could only see on TV, but now it was happening right in front of their eyes. It was too exciting, too exciting. The people who brought the cameras to record the scene were very excited. They wanted to go back and post this scene online. But their idea was good, but there was no way to realize it. Li Yifeng led the members of the criminal police squad and conducted a search of the open space at the foot of the mountain. All of the audience present were temporarily restrained and were being inspected by the police. All the cameras, camcorders and phones were checked one by one, and those with videos and photos were deleted by professional technicians. Feng Tianlong rushed to the scene as well, and he and Li Yifeng drove up the mountain road and stopped beside the Land Rover. Li Yifeng's car hadn't stopped yet, and Feng Tianlong quickly ran out of the car. He looked at his daughter and let out a breath of relief. Xiao Xiao, are you okay? Of course I'm okay. Xiao Xiao happily hugged Lin Yi's arm. With Lin Yi honey protecting me, I'm fine even though the car exploded. Lin Yi, thank you. Feng Tianlong took a deep breath and said sincerely to Lin Yi. What happened today really scared Feng Tianlong. He thought that he would never see his daughter again, but Lin Yi didn't let him down and protected his daughter safely. Tianlong once again felt that his decision back then was a wise one. Only Lin Yi was qualified to be her daughter's boyfriend, to be able to protect her. Second leader, come with us. Although Feng Tianlong wanted to tear the Baldy into pieces, his identity didn't allow him to do so. What awaited the Baldy was only the punishment of the law. Li Yifeng was also an internal martial arts master, but he only had the strength of a yellow steppe martial artist. Still, he was able to deal with this Baldy in sunglasses. After he went up, he restrained the bald man in sunglasses and dragged him into the car. Uncle Feng, if there's nothing else, Xiao Xiao and I will leave first. Lin Yi didn't want to get too involved in Feng Tianlong's business. Since he was living a normal life, Lin Yi naturally wanted to draw a line with his previous life. Okay, this time I, Feng Tianlong, owe you a huge favor. Feng Tianlong nodded and said solemnly. Ha, Uncle Feng, you're too kind. Xiao Xiao is my girlfriend, of course, I won't let her get hurt. Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. Oh. Feng Tianlong paused, and then a flash of joy appeared in his eyes. He could see that Lin Yi really did like Xiao Xiao, and he wasn't pretending to be her boyfriend anymore. This made Feng Tianlong very happy. He had to make Lin Yi pretend to be Xiao Xiao's boyfriend to trick her. After all, his daughter didn't have much time left, and Feng Tianlong couldn't force Lin Yi to fall in love with Xiao Xiao no matter what. But if Lin Yi could fall in love with Xiao Xiao, it would be the best. Feng Tianlong was afraid that Xiao Xiao would see through his act. That way, Lin Yi would fall in love with Xiao Xiao, and the relationship between the two would grow by leaps and bounds. With that thought, Feng Tianlong nodded, satisfied. All right, Lin Yi, bring Xiao Xiao back. I'll treat you to a meal some other day and then we'll talk. But I'm a bit busy these days, so I don't have time. It's fine, Uncle Feng, you go do what you need to do. Lin Yi nodded. Feng Tianlong got in the car and Li Yifeng drove away. Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao got in the Land Rover and followed Li Yifeng's car. Lin Yi, honey, you know my dad? Xiao Xiao wasn't stupid. She could tell that something was wrong. Last time, her father said that he wanted to see Lin Yi, but Lin Yi said that the two hadn't met yet. Today it seemed like Lin Yi and her father were very close. Xiao Xiao couldn't help but feel strange. Actually, Uncle Feng and I have known each other for a long time. Lin Yi didn't hide it from Xiao Xiao. You've known each other for a long time? Xiao Xiao paused and looked at Lin Yi strangely. Really? Your dad and I used to be comrades. I helped them with missions. Lin Yi smiled. So, that's why I was so surprised when you said that Uncle Feng was looking for me? Oh? If that's the case, then why were you so nervous? Xiao Xiao was puzzled. If Lin Yi knew her father, then what she'd said to scare him shouldn't have worked. It's because we know each other that I'm even more nervous. Your father and I are comrades, but I'm his daughter's boyfriend. What kind of weird seniority is this? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Haha. Xiao Xiao heard Lin Yi's words and started laughing. So this was what Lin Yi was worried about. But after laughing, Xiao Xiao asked curiously, then why didn't you tell me before? Before, our relationship wasn't confirmed yet. Why would I tell you so much? Lin Yi said matter-of-factly. But Lin Yi's words made Xiao Xiao very happy. Lin Yi's meaning was clear. The two of them were even closer now. That was why Lin Yi said it. Then my dad didn't look for you? Xiao Xiao was worried that her father would tell Lin Yi about her illness. What did you guys talk about? I called him a couple of times. Nothing much. He's been really busy lately. I think he's in charge of some case? Lin Yi said casually. Oh. Xiao Xiao nodded, relieved. I didn't think that you and Dad were comrades? No wonder you're so strong. Chapter 1075. Chapter 1073. Regret? Not at all, I had a lot of fun. This was the most meaningful race I've ever raced in my life. It allowed me and the person I love the most to experience life and death together. It's very rare. Xiao Xiao said solemnly, shaking her head. This is the most precious memory of my life. I won't have any regrets when I think about it on the day I die. Ha. Lin Yi knew that Xiao Xiao was telling the truth, but he didn't know what to say. If there's a chance in the future, let's race again, but not in the near future. Yeah, we were in the limelight today, a lot of people know about us. Xiao Xiao was smart and understood the reason as soon as Lin Yi said it. The Land Rover realized that the price difference between the Audi TT and the Rover wasn't that big, just double the price. It'd be a bit of a waste of gas in the city. So no matter how he thought about it, Lin Yi didn't think it was a good deal. Of course, it didn't matter as long as Xiao Xiao was happy. It was just that the license plate 2B941 was a bit awkward, and Lin Yi didn't want to drive it around the city. He could get Song Lingshan to change it. After getting off the mountain road, Lin Yi saw Lingshan's silhouette, but Lin Yi didn't greet her and just drove away. Lin Yi didn't want to show his face here just yet. It's getting late, let's go home? Lin Yi asked as he drove. Yeah. Xiao Xiao nodded. Everything that happened today was thrilling and exciting, but Xiao Xiao's body and mind were really tired. She wanted to rest early. Lin Yi drove the Land Rover to the 4S shop first before taking a taxi to Xiao Xiao's district. Lin Yi, on the other hand, drove the Beetle out of the district. On the way, Lin Yi called Tang Yun. Yun, where are you? Lin Yi asked. I'm back at the hospital. Did you and Xiao Xiao finish the race? Tang Yun asked. Yes, it's done. I've already sent Xiao Xiao home. Lin Yi didn't want Tang Yun to worry, so he didn't talk about what happened before. Instead, he asked, how did you get back? Mengyao's looking for me, we're leaving together, Tang Yun said. Lin Yi felt that it was a little strange. It seemed that because of Xiao Xiao, the Miss and Yushu had formed an alliance with Tang Yun, making way for Xiao Xiao. After the call, Linny drove straight back to the villa. As usual, Miss and Yushu were watching TV in the living room. When they saw Linny, they only raised their heads to look at him and continued watching TV. In the past, whenever Linny came back late, the Miss and Shu would express their dissatisfaction more or less, but now because of Xiao Xiao they both maintained a tolerant attitude. Linny thought that the Miss and Shu actually had good hearts. They didn't have the arrogance and ruthlessness of rich girls at all. After going through a lot today, Lin Yi's face was covered in dirt. After returning to his room, Lin Yi quickly took a hot shower to calm himself down. Today's incident wasn't targeted at him but Xiao Xiao. Lin Yi was a bit surprised, but the baldy was clearly a normal person, too weak compared to Lin Yi. He didn't need to worry about this, so he'd leave it to Tianlong to worry about. Not long after, Lin Yi's phone rang. Lin Yi picked it up. It was Ling Shan. Hello. Lin Yi picked up. Lin Yi, today's incident was caused by you? Ling Shan went straight to the point. You're here to interrogate me? Lin Yi frowned. Of course not. Ling Shan heard the unfriendly tone in Lin Yi's voice, and her heart tightened. Lin Yi, don't be angry, the silly girl is just worried about you. Ling Shan's tone was a bit unhappy because Lin Yi was there, but he didn't show up. She felt that it was a bit regretful, as if Lin Yi was purposely avoiding her. She felt wronged and wanted to call him to ask. She'd only asked a single sentence and Lin Yi was already unhappy. Ling Shan had no choice but to change her words. She was afraid that Lin Yi would miss her tomorrow if he was unhappy. Today's incident isn't suitable for me to show up, Lin Yi explained faintly. Ling Shan paused, understanding what Lin Yi meant. Lin Yi had always been a low-profile person, and after all the things he'd done, he'd given all the credit to her in the end. That was a clear indication of that. And are you all right? We can't interfere with today's incident and we don't know what's going on. Ling Shan breathed out in relief after seeing that Lin Yi wasn't angry. It's nothing, Lin Yi shook his head. You're looking for me for this? Not really, I just wanted to ask if you could come find me tomorrow? Ling Shan asked. Find you? Lin Yi blinked. Yeah, help me. Increase my strength. Ling Shan was both angry and embarrassed at the same time. How could he have forgotten about that? Seriously? Why was she so unimportant in his heart? It seemed like this silly girl needed to keep working hard. Oh, that. Lin Yi remembered that he promised Ling Shan that he'd go to her house this weekend and help her increase her strength. Lin Yi had been thinking about racing with Xiao Xiao these past couple of days, so he'd forgotten about it. He said apologetically, I'll go find you tomorrow. Should we go to the police station? My house. Ling Shan said after some hesitation. She felt that doing this kind of thing at home was safer. Doing it in the office always felt weird. Where's your house? Lin Yi didn't reject. How about this, come find me at the police station tomorrow morning. I'll stay in the office tonight and I'll take you to my house, Ling Shan said after some thought. All right, Lin Yi agreed quickly. Xiao Xiao was a little conflicted, or rather very conflicted. She realized that she really did fall in love with Lin Yi, and it was a very, very kind of love. This was supposed to be a good thing. She could experience what it was like to be in love before she died, so the deeper the better. And now Lin Yi was starting to care about her more and more, and this was something that Xiao Xiao couldn't have wished for before. This was the only way that Lin Yi would be sadder the moment she died, and her revenge would be achieved. Chapter 1076. Become cute. But now Xiao Xiao was stuck between a rock and a hard place, What should she do? What should she do? Xiao Xiao didn't have any ideas. In the car today she wanted to tell Lin Yi the truth, but she didn't dare. She'd fallen into the sweetness of love, and she was afraid that she'd lose everything she had if she told him the truth. Lin Yi would hate her to death, wouldn't he? Of course, Xiao Xiao thought. No one would feel good after being lied to, especially Lin Yi. He treated her so well, and that love would turn into hate. But if she didn't tell the truth, Xiao Xiao would feel guilty. She felt that hiding the truth was unfair to Lin Yi. Xiao Xiao put her hands in her hair and started walking around the room. So difficult, so difficult. Xiao Xiao finally understood what it meant to play with fire. Love wasn't something you could play around with. Xiao Xiao, since when did you become so irresolute? You disappoint me too much. Xiao Xiao mumbled to herself. But she was afraid that she'd lose everything if she told the truth. She didn't want to give up that feeling. After walking around the room for a while, Xiao Xiao herself felt dizzy. Her body wasn't good to begin with, so she fell onto the bed and fell asleep. The next morning, Lin Yi drove to find Ling Shan. Miss and Shu hadn't woken up yet. It was obvious that they had watched TV until midnight, so they were still sleeping. Lin Yi left a note after making breakfast and headed out. It was a weekend and there weren't many cars on the road. Lin Yi arrived at the police station without any obstructions. Lin Yi suddenly thought of Huaijuan. It had been a while since he'd seen him, and he wondered if his internal injuries had healed. Back then Lin Yi hadn't discovered the use of his own energy yet, and had only used herbal medicine to repair Huaijuan's damaged meridians. It was the best solution for Huaijuan's current situation, but it wouldn't allow Huaijuan to practice spiritual arts again. The best outcome would be for Huaijuan to become a normal person, and Huaijuan naturally knew that as well. He'd started practicing physical arts again a long time ago. But now Lin Yi had the experience of healing himself, General Weiwu, and Faubert. He was confident that he could heal young Huaijuan, and this wasn't a difficult task for Lin Yi. Lin Yi hadn't thought about this before, and it wasn't until he reached the police station that he realized the crux of the matter. He wasn't in a rush to call Lingshan, but Huaijuan instead. Compared to Lingshan, Huaijuan's illness was more important to Lin Yi. "Hello, Lin Yi?" Huaijuan was obviously surprised to receive Lin Yi's call at this time. "Jun bro, where are you?" Lin Yi asked. "I'm working on a case in the city, what's up?" Huaijuan asked quickly. From his perspective, there had to be a reason why Lin Yi would call him so early in the morning. "You're in the city? Forget it then," Lin Yi said. "I was at the police station and I suddenly thought of a better and faster way to heal your internal injuries. If you're here, I'll go find you." "There's a better and faster way?" Huaijuan froze after hearing Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi's treatment had already far exceeded his expectations, and now Lin Yi was saying that there was a better way? How could Huaijuan not be overjoyed? "Yes, and this method can repair all the damaged meridians in your body, allowing you to practice spiritual kung fu again," Lin Yi said. "Repair damaged meridians and practice spiritual kung fu again?" Huaijuan's eyes widened. Lin Yi's words were beyond what Huaijuan could accept. How was that possible? Huaijuan had heard of repairing meridians before, and there was a noble house in the Wulin world that could do it. But not just anyone could come to them to repair meridians, and there were a lot of requirements. So when Lin Yi said that he could repair meridians, Huaijuan was shocked. His first reaction was, how was that even possible? "Yes, repair damaged meridians and practice spiritual kung fu again," Lin Yi repeated word by word. "Lin Yi, as far as I know, only House Sun's kung fu can heal people when they've reached the first level of perfection." Huaijuan hesitated. "Could it be that you've contacted someone from House Sun?" "House Sun again?" Lin Yi paused for a moment and couldn't help but find it funny. It seemed that House Sun had a very high reputation in the Wulin world. These noble houses all knew about House Sun and some of them even respected them. "I don't have that kind of reputation. House Sun's kung fu can only be used to heal one person every level. How could I possibly ask someone from House Sun for help?" Lin Yi smiled bitterly. "So what you're saying is..." Huaijuan understood what Yang Ming was implying. Lin Yi wasn't from a noble house and he probably didn't have much contact with them. Even if he were to ask House Sun for help, they wouldn't be able to, let alone Lin Yi. "I'll heal you, of course." Lin Yi smiled. "What, Jun bro, you don't believe me?" "I do. Why not?" Huaijuan thought that Lin Yi had misunderstood him, thinking that he didn't trust Lin Yi. He panicked. It wasn't that he doubted Lin Yi, it was just that this whole situation was beyond his imagination. Huaijuan said quickly. "Eagle, you saved my life on the battlefield and you healed me a while back. You're the one who gave me my life. I wouldn't even frown if you were to use me for a biochemical experiment." "Ha!" Lin Yi couldn't help but smile at Huaijuan's words. "Then contact me when you get back." "Alright, I'll contact you when I'm done here. The medicine you gave me last time was very effective, and the pain is slowly fading away. I'm fine for now," Huaijuan said. Lin Yi nodded. With the medicine he gave Huaijuan's life, it wouldn't be a problem. Lin Yi didn't have to rush to treat Huaijuan's injuries. Lingshan woke up really early today and she dressed herself up meticulously. Looking at her reflection in the mirror, she smiled sweetly at the cute girl that was completely different from Miss Violent, Miss Braindead, and Miss Dumb. So she had a feminine side to her. Chapter 1077. Chapter 1075, House Song's Crisis. House Song was actually in a very delicate situation with Lingshan's generation. From the looks of it, House Song was like the sun in the sky. Her second grandpa used to be a mystic late-phase peak, and after a few unsuccessful attempts at breaking through to Earth class, he left to travel the world in search of a breakthrough. And Lingshan, other than House Yu, was the strongest among the younger generation of all the noble houses. With this kind of strength, House Song must be very strong. But that wasn't the case. There was a gap in House Song's strength. Lingshan had a sister who was studying right now, and had already entered the golden class. Second uncle's family had a younger brother, but he was too young. He was only 10 years old and hadn't entered the ranks of the golden class yet. As a result, there was a gap in the strength of the Song family. This was very dangerous for a noble family. House Song had a very strong second grandpa, but after he left, there was no news of him for many years. Who knew if he was still alive or not? And the strongest person in House Song was Lingshan's grandmother, old Madame Song. She had the strength of a mystic mid-phase, but her body was clearly getting weaker and weaker every year. If she really passed, then House Song would be in a very awkward situation. Her grandfather was only a golden class late phase peak, which wasn't very strong in a noble house. And her father was a bookworm, focusing on theoretical knowledge. Second uncle wasn't a bookworm, but he was a spoiled brat. Otherwise he wouldn't have married so late. Her brother was 10 years older than her. House Song's hope could be said to be Lingshan, her sister, and her brother. As of now, Lingshan was the only one who had made some progress. Lingshan's sister and brother were still a little lacking, especially the brother. He was talented, but he was still too young. It was very likely that House Song would be removed from the list of noble houses before he could grow up. There were only two ways to break out of this predicament. One was marriage. Lingshan and her sister would be married off to other noble houses to expand House Song's position. But with House Song's current situation, marriage wasn't suitable, and Lingshan didn't like this kind of forced marriage at all. Therefore they could only take another path, and that was to become stronger. Continuously become stronger, break through the golden class and enter the mystic class. That was the only way to protect the Song family's position. Lingshan didn't want the marriage, so she had to keep getting stronger and stronger. In truth, Lingshan had been working hard all these years, but she hadn't made much progress. But who knew that when he was in the dungeon he accidentally broke through the barrier of the peak of the late phase of the golden class and became a master of the late phase of the golden class. Lingshan was stunned, but at the same time she understood something. Grandma was right. The Song family's kung fu was very suitable for women to practice. However, in order to achieve a breakthrough she had to practice with a man. Lingshan didn't think much of it before, but now that she thought about it, it did make sense. Back then she had fantasized about being like Lin Yi, and in the end she had broken through the barrier that she had been stuck with all this time. If he really did it with Lin Yi, would he be able to level up to the peak late phase of the golden class? The temptation of leveling up was something that Lingshan couldn't resist. And the thought of giving up made Lingshan feel that having Lin Yi as her boyfriend wasn't a bad idea. Lin Yi was very strong and his strength was unfathomable. All of these satisfied Lingshan's criteria for a partner. A few days ago House Yu Xiao family and Zhao Qibing came to cause trouble for Lin Yi, but in the end nothing happened. This kind of strength wasn't something a normal person could have. Putting aside the fact that Lin Yi had a girlfriend, Lingshan was still very infatuated with Lin Yi. This guy was domineering, but the more he was like this, the more Lingshan felt that Lin Yi was the hero in her heart. Girls who practiced martial arts always worshipped heroes, even if this hero looked down on her a little. He always scolded her as Miss Braindead or Little Silly Girl, but Little Silly Girl was still better than Miss Braindead. Her hard work still bore fruit. Lingshan thought that since her chastity was gone and Lin Yi had seen everything, she might as well take it one step further with Lin Yi. As long as it could increase her strength, it was a good thing. Lingshan didn't know what she was thinking. Was it because she liked Lin Yi that she was broken, or was it because she was broken that she was forced to like Lin Yi? Either way, this question was very complicated. It was like the chicken or the egg giving her a headache. As a result, Lingshan didn't think too much about it. Since Lin Yi met her requirements, Lingshan didn't think she'd lose out. After dressing up, Lingshan leaned against the window waiting for Lin Yi to arrive. She waited until 8 in the morning, and her eyes almost popped out when a yellow beetle appeared in front of her. This was Yushu's car and Lin Yi usually drove it. Lingshan knew this. After the car drove in, Lingshan held her phone, waiting for Lin Yi to call her. But after waiting for a long time, Lin Yi didn't call. Lingshan was puzzled. What was Lin Yi doing? Why wasn't he calling? She waited a while longer, but Lin Yi's call still didn't come through. Lingshan was starting to panic, and after some hesitation she decided to call Lin Yi. What made her depressed was that Lin Yi's line was busy. This Lin Yi, why did he come here to make a call? Lingshan wanted to act more reserved, but Lin Yi didn't give her the chance. Lingshan couldn't take it anymore. She went downstairs first. What kind of date was this? Other people's dates were always the guys getting anxious, but she was the girl. But Lingshan thought about it again. If Lin Yi was like other guys, acting like a yes man in front of her, she wouldn't like him either. Forget it, she was a masochist. Who told her to like guys who were stronger than her? Lingshan packed up and went downstairs. While she was in the elevator, Lin Yi's call came in. Lingshan was overjoyed. She picked it up. Hello? Lin Yi? But there was a beep from the other side of the phone, and then there was no network. Lingshan was furious and she almost smashed the phone. Why was there no signal? Lin Yi finally called and there was no signal? Chapter 1078. Chapter 1076. Misunderstanding. Lingshan liked strong men, but now she realized that she was a normal woman as well. If she could be a little gentler in the midst of being strong, that'd be perfect. Lingshan got out of the elevator and her phone rang again when she got to the lobby. Lingshan looked at Lin Yi's number, getting excited. Lin Yi was calling again? It seemed like she could be a little more reserved now. Lingshan couldn't help but feel happy at the thought. She adjusted her state and then picked up the phone. Hello? Silly girl, what's going on over there? I've been calling you for a long time and now you're taking so long? Lin Yi's impatient voice came from the other side. Lingshan almost teared up. She felt so wrong that she wanted to die. Was this for real? I was in the elevator and I saw your car coming so I came down. Lingshan explained carefully. Oh, hurry up then. I'll wait for you at the door, Lin Yi said. Lingshan hung up and ran out of the office, ignoring her grievances. She saw Lin Yi's car and got in. Who are you? What are you doing in my car? Lin Yi looked at the pretty girl in his car, confused. She looked familiar, but Lin Yi couldn't remember where he'd seen her before. Huh? Lingshan's eyes went wide as she pointed at herself in disbelief. Did Lin Yi lose his memory in such a short amount of time? Lingshan looked at that weird expression on Lin Yi's face. He didn't seem to be faking it. It's me, your silly girl? Have you forgotten? Lingshan? Lin Yi frowned as he looked at Lingshan. It's me. Lingshan nodded. It was good that Lin Yi remembered. Lin Yi looked at the person carefully. It really was Lingshan. It was just that her hairstyle had changed and she had put on makeup, eyeliner and eyelashes. She was much more beautiful than before, which surprised Lin Yi. Lingshan used to wear a police uniform, and her hair was tied up casually. Because of her profession, she didn't put on any makeup, and Lin Yi almost didn't recognize her at all. You went to Korea? Lin Yi didn't expect that little girl Song would be so beautiful when she was dressed up. She wasn't the slightest bit inferior to those movie stars. Although Lin Yi was surrounded by beautiful women, he still couldn't help but be moved and couldn't help but make a joke. Korea? Lingshan blinked. Plastic surgery. Lin Yi laughed. Go die. Lingshan was pissed off. Plastic surgery? Did she even need it? This was called natural beauty. But after saying the word, go die, Lingshan jumped in fright and quickly changed her words. What? I wasn't talking about you, I was joking. I was joking with you too. Lin Yi shrugged and started the car. Lingshan let out a breath of relief when she saw that Lin Yi wasn't angry, but she was secretly delighted. Even Lin Yi admitted that she was pretty? But Lin Yi turned his eyes back to the road after saying that. Lin Yi's composure wasn't something a normal person could achieve. Where's your house? Let's go. Lin Yi started the car. It's nearby. Go down this road after you leave the police station, and there's a small district about 1,000 meters away. Lingshan said to Lin Yi, a little disappointed. All she got from Lin Yi was a compliment and a joke. Other than that, there didn't seem to be anything else. Lin Yi nodded and started the car, driving in the direction Lingshan was pointing at. The district Lingshan lived in was a modern white-collar district. It was full of high-class people and there was an air of experience everywhere. Lin Yi parked the car in the direction Lingshan pointed and got out with Lingshan. This is the place. Lingshan came to a unit not far from the car, keyed in the password and went upstairs with Lin Yi. Lingshan's house was a small room, very popular with single people. Lingshan only remembered that she didn't have any extra slippers after entering the house. Why don't you wear mine and I'll go barefoot? Lingshan said to Lin Yi after some hesitation. No one comes here usually, it's always been me. Lin Yi paused. It seemed like he was the first person to enter Lingshan's room. Actually, if Lingshan wasn't so stupid sometimes, Lin Yi would quite like her. She had all the curves and she was pretty. Who wouldn't like her? Plus, she was as obedient as a kitten in front of Lin Yi, and that made Lin Yi feel a sense of domination. It was just that Lin Yi didn't want to cause trouble for himself. Lingshan's dependence on him was strong enough already, and if something were to happen between the two, he wouldn't be able to do anything else in the future. He'd have to spend all his time helping her solve cases. I'll go barefoot, Lin Yi said casually and took off his shoes and walked into the house. Lingshan hesitated but didn't say anything. She felt a sweetness in her heart. It seemed like Lin Yi was very strong on the surface, but he was actually very considerate. Ling Shan changed her shoes and walked into the house. She turned to Lin Yi. What do you want to drink? There's drinks and water. No need for the trouble. Lin Yi waved his hand. He didn't want to waste time. Helping Ling Shan level up was a very troublesome thing, and after that Lin Yi still needed to recover his strength. Lin Yi was worried that the Miss and Shu wouldn't be happy if he went back too late. Ling Shan paused. Didn't you want to level up? Let's start now, Lin Yi said. We're starting now? Ling Shan paused. She wasn't quite ready yet. She had decided to take things one step further with Lin Yi, but this was still her first time. Shouldn't she at least build up some feelings and prepare some foreplay? For this, Ling Shan bought some red wine and candles as well as some Western food. She wanted to DIY it and have a candlelit meal with Lin Yi, building up the atmosphere. She didn't think that Lin Yi would go straight to the point. Yeah, isn't that why you called me here? Lin Yi frowned as he retorted. Chapter 1079. Be frightened to death, shower? Why are you showering? Are you dirty? Lin Yi paused. Why would Ling Shan shower when she got home? I'm not dirty, Ling Shan said, pissed off. She might not be dirty, but she'd showered the day before yesterday. She'd slept in the office last night, and it was inevitable that she'd become a bit of a clean freak. It was her first time after all, so she had to be more formal, right? It'd be fine if she didn't have the conditions, but now that she did, she had to shower. Why would you shower if you're not dirty? Lin Yi said faintly. Won't the makeup on your face go to waste after showering? But you don't want to cultivate a relationship with me first. Ling Shan felt wronged. Naturally, she wanted to have a candlelight dinner with Lin Yi first. Naturally, she had to pay attention to her appearance. The prettier she was, the more Lin Yi's heart would move, and then the two would naturally hug and kiss, and Ling Shan could say no. She'd go shower first, and then the two would naturally fall onto the bed. One had to admit that Ling Shan's plan was quite perfect, but she was wrong about it. Her plan was a million miles away from Lin Yi's. Cultivate a relationship? Do we need to cultivate a relationship to raise our strength? Lin Yi blinked. This was the first time he'd heard of something like this. Looking at Ling Shan's shy face, Lin Yi suddenly thought of something. Ling Shan must have been thinking about it wrongly. In fact, when Ling Shan called Lin Yi and asked Lin Yi to come here to help her level up, Ling Shan had already hinted at something like this, but Lin Yi didn't think much of it at the time. But today Ling Shan's behavior reminded Lin Yi of Ling Shan's true goal. Ling Shan wasn't trying to use the same method she used in the prison to level up, was she? That was a little too absurd. Lin Yi didn't know what Ling Shan's practitioner's arts were like, but he knew that it was special. He didn't believe that Ling Shan could level up just by thinking about a man touching himself. The last time she leveled up, she might have already touched the barrier of the next level, and that was why she broke through in that kind of situation. However, Lin Yi would never believe that he could level up simply by relying on such a thing. Other people would train their whole lives and still not make any progress, but Ling Shan just touched it for a while and broke through? This joke is not funny at all. Of course. It's my first time after all. Ling Shan blushed as she carefully looked at Lin Yi's face, afraid that Lin Yi would get angry and leave. Ling Shan was a little annoyed. According to her investigation, Lin Yi should be a big playboy, surrounded by beauties, with a girlfriend, Tang Yun, and even having an unusual relationship with Meng Yao and Yushu. Today, Ling Shan wanted to dress herself up to attract Lin Yi, but she didn't expect that Lin Yi didn't seem to be attracted at all. This made Ling Shan very conflicted. Was she really that bad? It's fine, it's not my first time, Lin Yi said faintly. He thought about Ling Shan's misunderstanding and decided to tease Ling Shan. In fact, Lin Yi liked the tiger girl from before, and arguing with her was quite interesting. It's not your first time? Then what was your first time? Ling Shan paused. She thought that it was Lin Yi's first time as well, but it didn't seem like it. So Lin Yi's first time was with Tang Yun? My first time was with myself, Lin Yi said faintly. In actuality, the first person Lin Yi helped increase his strength was indeed himself. Ugh. Ling Shan paused, suddenly remembering a sentence she read on the internet, saying that most men gave their first time to their hands. Could it be that it was the same for Lin Yi? That explained everything. Ling Shan let out a breath of relief but still asked hesitantly, so today was the second time? The second time was with a dog, Lin Yi said. Dog. Ling Shan's eyes widened upon hearing Lin Yi's words, and she pointed at Lin Yi, her mouth wide open. With a dog? Wasn't Lin Yi a little too strong? With a dog? Was this a real-life version of Beauty and the Beast? No, it should be a handsome guy and a mother beast. Yes, it's a dog, General Weiwu. Lin Yi nodded. Mighty. General. Ling Shan almost fainted on the spot. Wasn't General Wei Wu Mengyao and Yushu's dog? Wasn't that dog a male? Lin Yi was with a male dog? How was that possible? Isn't this a little too inconceivable? Ling Shan felt a chill down her spine, and goosebumps popped up all over her body. She felt like she didn't like Lin Yi anymore. This man was too scary, wasn't he? Then, was there a third time? Ling Shan continued to ask. She was a policewoman after all, and she'd seen a lot of crazier cases. What Lin Yi said made her a little nauseous, but it wasn't as bad as those people who ate babies alive. The third time. Faubert. Lin Yi said expressionlessly. Faubert. Ling Shan rolled her eyes, almost fainting. Faubert? Wasn't he Ping Zhan's driver and butler? Wasn't he a man in his 40s or 50s? Lin Yi was with him? Were they gay buddies? No wonder Lin Yi was with a male dog. So this was the reason. Ling Shan couldn't take it anymore. This was too disgusting, too perverted. She couldn't take it anymore. The last time she was in the dungeon, she had treated Lin Yi as her fantasy partner. She didn't think that Lin Yi would do something like this. He ate both humans and beasts. Ling Shan was even thinking that Faubert knew General Wei Wu. Did the three of them have a threesome? She couldn't take it anymore. Ling Shan felt like throwing up. She couldn't take it anymore. However, Lin Yi didn't care about Ling Shan's expression. He said normally, I called Jun Bro when I was downstairs wanting to try it out with him, but he's not in the city, so I gave up and came to you first. Jun Bro. Yang Huaijun Bro? Ling Shan blinked. Yeah. Lin Yi nodded. Chapter 1080. You're thinking wrong? Oh. Alright, I'll be leaving then. Lin Yi nodded and stood up, getting ready to leave. Ling Shan started to hesitate as she watched Lin Yi leave without any hesitation. Was what Lin Yi said true or false? Ling Shan thought about it and couldn't understand why it was happening. First of all, Lin Yi's words didn't seem to be reliable at all. From the time she spent with Lin Yi, she didn't think that Lin Yi was someone like that. Could it be that Lin Yi didn't like her and said that on purpose so that she wouldn't bother him? Ling Shan felt that it was very possible. Every time she asked for Lin Yi's help to find clues, Lin Yi would agree in the end, but he didn't seem very willing and impatient. As for Lin Yi, could he be using this as an excuse to distance himself from her? Was that why he was spouting nonsense? Wait. Ling Shan didn't want to let Lin Yi leave just like that. Is there anything else? Lin Yi turned around. Did you really do that with General Wei Wu and Faubert? Ling Shan looked into Lin Yi's eyes, trying to find the real answer. What do you mean? Lin Yi asked. It's sex. Ling Shan gritted her teeth. Sex. Lin Yi's eyes went wide as he looked at Ling Shan, confused. Me, General Wei Wu, and Faubert having sex? Are you retarded again? How did you think of that? Aren't your thoughts a little too complicated? Did you read too many Fujoshi novels? Why would I read Fujoshi novels? Didn't you say it before? The first time you gave it to yourself, the second was with Wei Wu, and the third was with Faubert. Ling Shan gritted her teeth. Why was this Lin Yi denying it all of a sudden? She scolded herself for being brainless again. She was really unlucky. She had just successfully leveled up into a little silly girl, but after a few days she was demoted back to a brainless girl. That's right. This is the first time I've used this method to increase my strength. Is to help myself. The second time was for General Wei Wu and the third time was for Faubert. Is there a problem? Lin Yi asked back. What are you thinking? Why are your thoughts so complicated? You're talking about increasing strength? Ling Shan's face reddened. Did he really think wrong? But wasn't that the way to increase one's strength? Wasn't that how he had improved last time? And so, Ling Shan didn't want to admit defeat. Then how do you want to help me increase my strength? Take off your clothes, Lin Yi said faintly as he looked at Ling Shan. His plan to tease Ling Shan wasn't over yet. Take off my clothes? Ling Shan paused. If it were before, Ling Shan would have been more than happy to take off her clothes if he'd asked her to. She'd gladly do it, but Lin Yi wasn't going to let her. But now, Lin Yi said so many scary things, and although it didn't seem like what she thought it was, Lin Yi asking her to take off her clothes made her hesitate again. Could it be that when Lin Yi helped Faubert level up, Faubert took off his clothes too? Are you going to level up or not? My time is limited. If not, I'll be leaving first, Lin Yi frowned and said faintly. Level up. Ling Shan gritted her teeth, feeling wronged. But in an instant she thought of another problem. She thought that Lin Yi might have been testing her. If Lin Yi really had something to do with Faubert and General Wei Wu, then why would Mengyao and Yushu let Lin Yi stay in the villa? They'd kick him out, wouldn't they? Plus, Lin Yi had a pretty girlfriend, Tang Yun. If Lin Yi really had a problem with his sexual orientation, Then what was up with Tang Yun? It couldn't be a toy, could it? Then he might as well look for Kang Xiaobo or Zhong Pingliang or something. Of course, there was also the possibility that Mengyao, Yushu and Tang Yun didn't know about Lin Yi at all, but how could that be possible? There was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. If Lin Yi could tell her about this so easily, then there was no way he could keep it a secret. And so, Lingshan thought that maybe Lin Yi was testing her on purpose, purposely putting himself in such a bad position so that Lingshan wouldn't bother him in the future. With that thought, Lingshan felt relieved. She reached out to untie her belt. Lingshan was someone who liked cleanliness, so the first thing she did when she got home was to take off her pants and sit on the sofa, slowly taking off her other clothes. That way the sofa wouldn't get dirty. And so, subconsciously, Lingshan took off her pants as well. What are you doing? Lin Yi couldn't help but find it funny that Lingshan was taking off her pants. He stopped teasing her. If he kept teasing her, she'd really get into trouble. After all, Lin Yi came to Lingshan's place to help her get stronger, not to do anything else. Weren't you the one who told me to take off my clothes? Lingshan looked at Lin Yi, confused. I told you to take off your clothes, but I didn't tell you to take off your pants. Lin Yi corrected. Ah. Lingshan paused. Taking off my clothes? Taking off my pants? Was there a difference? Of course, there would be a difference if she tried to pick on the words, but didn't they all mean the same thing? Lingshan was a little troubled. Could it be that Lin Yi really had some sort of special hobby? Did he only like the upper body and not the lower? But with all the suspicions from before, and after being tricked by Lin Yi, Lingshan didn't say anything. Take off your clothes, then. Lingshan was numb to it. As long as she could get stronger, nothing else mattered. Lingshan's thoughts started to come back to haunt her once more, and so she started to stop caring. After taking off her jacket, Lingshan started to unbutton her shirt, but Lin Yi stopped her. Alright, just take off your jacket. Lin Yi really wanted to see more of Lingshan's inner self, but he gave up on that idea. Some things needed to be done in moderation. This Song girl had too many troubles, and solving cases for her was much harder than fulfilling Xiao Xiao's wishes. Plus, Lin Yi didn't want to have any more emotional debts for no reason. From the looks of it, it was already troublesome enough. Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao were confirmed as the first and second wives. Big Miss and Little Shu didn't know their true feelings. Little Shu's behavior was more obvious, but she often lied. The Miss didn't lie, but she rarely expressed anything.